funnier when I'm next to you.
It really is.
Like,
It's really bad.
It's like when there's a computer screen between us, it's like, I don't feel weird staring at him because I'm supposed to be looking at the screen.
Now,
You want to switch?
now it's like, don't lock eyes. Don't make eye contact. It's weird. Well, good. That'll just start it for us. We'll just start it right there.
God, I made eye contact.
We'll just start it right there. So, hey, you're listening to the Two Dads Review podcast. We're going to welcome you guys. This is the long-awaited, 2-week-awaited solo A Star Wars Story review. This is Clay, Dad 1. Dad 2 is across the table from me.
What's up? I'm in house today.
We are all live. And our special guest returning from our last Star Wars review, New York Times bestselling author Brian J. Jones. Welcome again, sir.
Thank you, Dad 3.
Dad 3, stepdad. We thought that was kind of weird. We had another guy visit. We had another guy on the show, and we were like, we've said it too many times now, but it's starting to sound creepy.
Yeah, right?
we're just
So you guys got like 76 stepdads? Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't a steady relationship with the mom.
So if you're just finding us for the first time, you can always check us out over at twodadsreview.com. That's the word two, not the number two. From there, you can listen to all of our podcasts there, and also find links to fantastic places elsewhere to listen to the podcast. Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Radio Public. And you can always go over to the YouTube channel and check out the podcast there. And that's it. That's admin stuff, man. Let's before we go to solo. You've been a little bit busy since we saw you last.
I have been.
So last time we talked to you, you were having a hard time getting into the Dr. Seuss or the Seuss library, right?
Yeah, boy. So that
fixed itself.
Well, it still took quite a while. I got in January, finally, of this year. I spent about 2 weeks inside of it, but it was really frustrating because every box they gave me was still restricted.
In what way?
Meaning they wouldn't give them to me. So, when I submitted my list to the archivist there of what I wanted, I basically, checked every box. I said, I want everything. I want to see everything. And so, I asked for his box of military records, and I got a folder, which was like his letter of, recommendation for his medal, his Medal of Honor.
Right.
That was it.
Does he have a Medal of Honor?
I'm calling it probably the wrong thing.
Okay,
but he does have he had a distinguished medal. Mm-hmm. But that was the only folder I got. I got none of his correspondence. So, I was happy with what I got. Was I very happy? No. But I got enough. I got some good stuff. I got some things I didn't think I would get, which was nice. I got a bunch of notes when he was writing out for an academic course, all these talking points and notes on what he thought made children's literature work. Really interesting stuff that, I don't think you've seen anywhere before. So I got some good stuff. I didn't get everything I wanted, which is a little frustrating. I mean, they're very proud of having all of his papers at the University of California, San Diego, and they won't let anybody see them.
Is there a reason for that? Is anybody giving you any sort of behind the scenes on why?
Biography. So, first of all, the people
I feel like there's like a X-Files episode buried deep in the vault somewhere.
The people at Seuss Enterprises are lovely, but the archives are basically controlled by his widow still.
Right.
And because when families control papers, that tends to happen. Is they'll restrict the access. So.
Curve the narrative as to what you get to.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily know. I have suspicions of what there may be in there, but I don't know why you wouldn't show me these military records. Those are public records, which, as I found out, I tried to get them. I tried to make an end run and get them from the National Archives, and all those papers disappeared in a fire at one point. So his particular records they don't have.
There seems to be quotes around the word fire in this document.
That one is real. That one is real. I know.
Just one giant redacted thing. Fire.
Because the National Archives actually has a lot of his military records, like in a PDF that anybody can get, but it's like 9 pages. So most of them are not there. Because of the fire. So anyway, it was as a researcher, it was a little frustrating, but I still got lots of great stuff. I mean, there'll be lots of neat stuff in there you've never seen before, and I think it's going to be a great book, but it did take me a long time to get in.
So and you're on Twitter at Brian J. Jones, right?
Correct.
All the way
out. Spelled all the way out. Yep.
And following you on there, so you're how far are you so far? Because you report on chapter lengths and word count, and I feel bad for your editor.
I prefer 14,000 words today.
I prefer not to say how far along I am chapter-wise, but when I sit down, generally the way I outline is I try to outline for about 10,000 words a chapter. Mm-hmm. I didn't hit that last time. I went way over.
Way over.
And I do that. I tend to do that, so I have a great, very patient editor. But generally, I outline so I can bulk them at about 10,000 words. And the one before I came here, I finished word 4,240 or something on the chapter I'm working on. So the way I've got it outlined, I'm supposed to be done with it by the end of this week. But I got to really hustle to be done by September 1st, which is my deadline. So.
Deadline for everything.
Deadline for everything.
September 1st?
September 1st. Well, I'm going to push it and say after Labor Day at this point. My editor's great when he said end of the summer. He's like, that's not end of September. Said, but September 21st. Come on.
It's still warm. It's still warm. We're fine.
Yeah.
September 21st.
Shorts.
So, but I'll get there. I'm pretty fast. Once and I'm generally outlined, and I generally do what I call my data dump, which means most of my notes have gone into the particular chapters they're supposed to go into. But there's always tons more backup work to do when I get into the chapters, which is what takes so long. Some people are like, you only wrote 700 words a day. And I was like, I know, but I was sitting here 9.5 hours because I had to go, look up the address of Vanguard Publishing in 1938. So there's just things, which I did find. 424 Madison Avenue.
Remember it forever.
Yeah, so it's things like that you don't expect that just take you down these rabbit holes that are the internet.
So when it comes to publishing, so if you turn it in after Labor Day, when do the users expect to see it on shelves?
Well, it's already been posted as coming out February 5th. So
of next year?
Of next year, yeah. So, I have a great editor, and my imprint that I write for is Dutton. It's an imprint of Random House, and they only publish like 40 books a year. Mm-hmm. So the queue is not hugely backed up. Now, you don't want to push it too much, but, I've probably got a little wiggle room, probably not a lot. But so usually when there's a deadline, that also means they would like to have your photographs cleared and all that. I'm still, I'll say I'm working on that. Dartmouth University's got a lot of great stuff that I can get. And so anyway, so there's stuff out there, but it's, when they tell you delivery of your manuscript, it's not actually the written part of it. It is that, but it's also your photos are in there, your photos are cleared, you've got captions for them. It's all that little stuff that goes into it.
And your covers, you just released about
cover's
2 weeks
out.
ago.
The cover's done. Yeah, so that's why they're ready to go. They're good to go.
It looks great. It's gonna catch some eyes, and they're gonna know before they even, because I'm not sure I knew his real name.
Oh yeah,
right. And I also when I first saw your cover, I was like, are we going like with a Dr. Strangelove type thing here? With that title, go ahead, tell them the title.
It's called Becoming Dr. Seuss, and then the subtitle is, oh God, I'm not going to even remember because it's so new. Theodore. Maybe it's even Ted Geisel and the Making of an American Imagination. It's still so new to me. Because I was working under Becoming Dr. Seuss. That was the part of it I had. Because what I told my editor early on is you can sort of break this into 3 pieces, and in every third, something else happens that creates him. So the first third of it is he's, as my wife says, he's kind of a douche. He's like this New York City ad man. Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of, gets his money. For his start is actually doing advertising and drawing cartoons for magazines. He's not doing any kids stuff.
Right. And
then he sells some of his kids' books, but then he ends up going to do editorial cartoons for a New York magazine and goes into the Army during World War II. And that's so his first books are kind of just the lighthearted fairy tale books, Bartholomew Cubbins and Mulberry Street. So that's the first third. The next third is he gets into the Army. During World War II, he's done some sort of these very progressive cartoons for a New York City newspaper, mm-hmm. and then ends up being very alarmed by Nazi propaganda. So when he comes back from the war, that's when he starts doing the more messagey books. We've got one shot at our kids now. He was watching German propaganda. We've got one shot at our kids. Let's get it right. So that's when he starts writing the more messagey books. Then the last part is he actually writes Cat in the Hat on a bet because somebody says you can't use a certain number of words, and he says I bet I can, and writes Cat in the Hat, and that's when he starts getting into what they call beginner books, which are the ones that actually have this pedagogy behind it. So that's the final arc of his career. So he's always sort of becoming the Dr. Seuss that we know through these, sort of fits and starts. So I had that part, but I didn't have the subtitle in.
Define pedagogies, not for me, of course, but for our listeners.
Someone's asking.
Yeah.
Pedagogy means there's actually a science behind it. It's like Sesame Street was different from other kid shows at the time because it had a pedagogy. There were educators behind Sesame Street who knew how to set up, a curriculum. Mm-hmm. And that's what happens in beginner books. Things like, Hop on Pop, and a lot of those books actually had, a word list that had been approved by educators. These are the 272 words that kids know, and one of Dr. Seuss's bets was, can you do 50 of them? And that actually became Green Eggs and Ham.
Nice.
So so there's a lot of that going. So it's been a really it was once I figured that out, that's when the book became Becoming Dr. Seuss, but I didn't have the next part. And that's why you have editors and people in marketing who said, well, we have to have the word Ted Geisel in there so people can find it by that. And so all that stuff that, you know, you don't think about as the author.
That's fantastic.
You're like, I just want to call it this. I want my words right here.
And the cover, and you'll notice on the cover, and the cover's great. The cover's really interesting. And what I liked is they didn't use the old bearded Dr. Seuss, like when he was in his 70s when he's got that beard. And I've done Jim Henson, George Lucas, all guys that have beards, so I'm glad not to have a bearded guy. So they used a picture of him without the beard, and he's drawing, it's an actual picture of the Grinch. So they managed to like sneak the Grinch onto the cover, which was very smart.
And the cover's green, right? Is
it didn't reproduce well on Twitter. It's more turquoise.
Nice.
Yeah, it came out because I kept like deleting and reposting it, and it never quite came out. So it's more turquoise. But yeah, the Twitter one is kind of weird. So find it on Amazon, and it's the right color. And you can pre-order now.
Oh, good. Nice.
You might get it February 5th. You might not. I hope my editor's not listening. John, I hope you're not listening.
Any one fact that you were surprised to find and something that was just amazing that it just pops in your head? If you don't have it, it's fine.
Or if you can't talk about it.
No, I think this is...
Or if you can't talk about it.
I think this is something that'll be interesting. So a lot of people ask about, you know, did Dr. Seuss have... He's the great writer for kids. Did he have kids? No, he didn't. Probably what happened, and this is information that I don't have for sure, but his wife, I know, had her ovaries, both her ovaries removed, and I've been doing medical research on why you would possibly do that. But she had her ovaries removed very early in their marriage, and so that's why they couldn't have kids. So the book Bartholomew Cubbins, 500 Cats of Bartholomew Cubbins, is dedicated to someone called Chrysanthemum Pearl, aged 89 months. And if you do the math on when Bartholomew Cubbins came out, 89 months is about the time in their marriage when she would have had that surgery done. So Chrysanthemum Pearl was the imaginary child that the two of them had, that they dedicated that book to.
And so it's dedicated, so you know this is
so
not...
No, I know this part for
Okay.
a fact. So Bartholomew Cubbins is dedicated to their imaginary child, Chrysanthemum Pearl. And he would apparently tell stories at dinner parties. If you would start telling me about your kids and something amazing they'd done, he would make up some story about Chrysanthemum Pearl doing something spectacular that no kid could ever have possibly done. That's how precocious Chrysanthemum Pearl was. He talked about her in the Saturday Evening Post and so on. So but anyway, that was sort of an interesting and kind of sad nugget that the great kids writer could not have children of his own.
Wow.
He always sort of deflected that question saying, you have them, I'll entertain them.
Wow. That's great. Well, you can check that out hopefully in February.
Hopefully.
And if you want to get on some of Brian's stuff now, you can always find his George Lucas, which is why he's here, because, you know, Star Wars aficionado / knower of the king of it all.
The creator.
The creator. He has a George Lucas biography out. He has a Jim Henson biography out, which is on my bedstand. I have not started it, but I'm going to.
There we go.
And what are the last ones?
Oh, come on.
Last one.
Washington Irving.
Washington Irving, that's correct. You're right.
Still my wife's favorite, but
That one I don't have.
I usually have to explain who that one is. The other two I don't. But
Ichabod Crane. I remember
correct.
that from last
Very good.
time.
Yeah.
All right, so shall we talk solo a little bit?
Let's talk solo.
All right. Spoiler free first in case someone's just waiting outside the theater to go in and want to know what we had to tell them. Because honestly, plenty of folks still need to go see it because not a lot of folks have seen it yet, according to the box office.
Yeah, I wonder who from this movie is going to get ran off Twitter and
I saw that today.
Instagram.
Did you see that today?
I did. I was
that's right,
actually.
'cause I saw it off your Twitter
I
feed.
said a little. I retweeted it and I jumped into it at one point.
So let's talk
someone
that
on the
real quick.
internet was wrong, so I had to jump in.
Let's talk about that real quick. So the actress that played Rose in Last Jedi, blanking already. It's hard.
Kelly Marie Tran.
Right. She has deleted all of her Instagram, completely over all the hate that she gets on a daily basis from people about her character. What is everybody's problem with her? I mean, she actually would have had a really nice little arc in the movie. She wasn't. I don't understand the fan base sometimes.
The fan base is, and Chuck Wendig took a lot of shit last week because at one point he talked about the shitty Star Wars fans, and all the Star Wars fans said, "We are not shitty, fuck you."
Point made.
Right. So, and Chuck's point was, it's not all Star Wars fans, but it's some Star Wars fans, and if you're sitting there, objecting, saying it's not you, it's probably you. So Chuck got it pretty bad at one point earlier in the week too. But fandom in general is getting toxic in places. You see it in Marvel and DC. More, I actually run into it more when you talk about Marvel versus DC. I got it bad one day because I'm a DC guy, but I am not a fan of DC's movies. And I'm not a Marvel guy, and I really like Marvel's movies. And I was just saying, look, Marvel's movies have a coherence to them. They're epic. They're well thought out. DC's movies are, oh my God, I got killed by people who were convinced I had it in for Zack Snyder and that I must be in the pocket of Disney to say things so nice about I mean, it's just unbelievable. So, you know, the fan base across everything can get very toxic because we have this instant gratification. I was
just imagine him with like a gold pinky ring on right now and like a Disney logo, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, I'm in so deep in his tracksuit of Disney. You know, like.
You know, I mean, I even said something today about, I retweeted it and I said, you know, I remember when, I'm old enough to remember when being a fan meant liking something. I don't know. It's very, you know, I was, at one point today, I said something about, I don't really, you know, they were talking about the Jared Leto Joker movie, and I said, I don't really need a Joker origin story. I don't really need a Willy Wonka origin story. I actually don't even really need a Han Solo origin story. I think characters are great when you can leave them enigmatic. Even that sort of sets people off when you do that. And, you know, but I managed a comic book store in the late 80s, and when the first Batman movie came out, we spent hours debating and bickering with each other over whether the Sam Hamm origin of the Joker was good or crap. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of stuff you did. But now you start that conversation, and man, here they come. So I think the fact we're all so interconnected is part of what drives us all apart on this kind of stuff. It's you know, the old saying, it's not that cats must succeed, it's that dogs must fail. So you know, I think we run into that quite a bit.
Well, and it seems that this isn't new. Mm-mm. It's just multiplied because of social media and the ability to reach everybody at a click of a button.
Yeah, and you can bring your aggression right at Ryan Johnson on Twitter.
Yeah,
I mean, how often could you do that?
You can't do that, and because you can look back and find people who wrote newspapers and wrote TV shows, like when Star Trek: The Next Generation came out, and they were like, "It's not Kirk," and they just and they it's the same shit you would see on Twitter, just not limited to 240 characters or whatever it is. They just write the paper with very sternly and only reach, you know, a few thousand people, as opposed to, you know, having the wrong person retweet it and then it's all over the place. And
I'm so sick of these people complaining about the social justice warriors and you know, I jumped in at one point today because somebody was saying, you know, Star Wars was why are people talking about it being a Vietnam allegory? George Lucas didn't intentionally do that. There was no, and I said, look, George Lucas was progressive as hell. You know, Star Wars is a Vietnam metaphor. He said as much, and he wanted Han to be black and Leia to be Asian, but he knew if he did that, he would catch crap. That audiences weren't ready for that, and apparently he's still right.
Very right.
So you know, Lucas himself he calls himself a Buddhist Methodist. I mean, he's very progressive. The politics of Star Wars are inherently progressive. People have got to get over it. It's a gigantic universe.
Well, and another thing, I think one of the first things we'll talk about is that this movie is directed by Ron Howard.
Right.
At the end, it didn't start out with him. It started out with Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who filmed most of their movie until Disney was like, and they filmed it as a comedy.
Yeah, and I want to hear you guys talk a little about this, because people were asking me, like, which parts did who, and I don't know enough about...
Which parts do you think they kept? Did he keep?
Yeah, and I don't know enough about... I'm not well-versed enough in the way they do stuff to be able to know that. Like, somebody's saying, well, there's would have been the funny stuff in it, but I just don't know. What do you guys know on this? What do the two dads know about this one? I don't know.
What do you know about those two directors?
I don't know shit about it.
I don't know shit about it either.
What did they do before this?
I could time it and figure it out real quick. I don't know. I should have done that. All right, so through the magic of editing, we've looked up what they've done. So we're talking the Lego Movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, both of those, 21, 22 Jump Street, both hilarious movies, very well done, very well received. So when Disney hired these guys, that's what they had in mind. Why else would you not want a comedy with these guys? Like, why would you even do that? So I'm guessing they caught... The fact that the number I've heard recently is that Ron Howard reshot 70% of the movie.
Interesting.
So of what was kept, the very few jokes that I've personally felt watching the movie, just they had to use that scene, but there was way more joke on either end of it to make that way more funny than it actually was. And there was jokes in the trailers you didn't see. For instance, during the Kessel Run, where he's like, "We'll be fine. We're all fine. We're fine." That wasn't even in the movie. That was just in the trailer. So I doubt. I guess very little was kept of theirs. Which
30% made it in the trailer.
Or it was all
Lucasfilm hired them to make trailers.
Or it was all approach shots, or all like big, establishing
shots.
It wasn't even like people talking. There was there was very few times that we were meant to laugh at. There wasn't a lot. They wanted to be a drama at the end of it, and I'm not knocking Ron Howard.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when they, again, I'm gonna show my age. It was like back in the day when they, when we all heard that Tim Burton was gonna do Batman. Everyone's like, well, he's done his Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Beetlejuice, so Batman's gonna be a comedy. So maybe they saw something. Those guys are like, no, they can play it straight. They can do more than comedy. But I don't know. I mean, that's a interesting resume to then bring them into a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I think what else I heard was that there was a lot of improv that was allowed to the script, and that was not liked by the script writers. The Kasdan father and son team, yes.
Lawrence and
Jonathan. Yeah, they both have the credit for writing, and apparently they did not like the direction that it had taken. Then there was leaking about
somebody didn't like something, that's for sure.
About Alden Ehrenreich needing an acting coach on set, yeah. And there's a few scenes where he's being acted around, like he's just there as doing like a Harrison Ford mouth, and like everybody else is acting around. And did
you notice they gave him the scar?
Did I notice that
on his chin?
Maybe I did.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. But we didn't get the backstory for that. What was that? Do we know what the backstory is on that?
It was a whip hit him in the mouth, if I remember right.
Wasn't that Indiana Jones?
Oh, that's right.
Well, the movies now live in the same universe. Do you know that, right?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Not only was there a crystal skull, not like the alien one, but like a human crystal skull. There was also the gold idol from Temple of Doom was in there. Temple of Doom? Is that the first one? Am I wrong?
Raiders
of the Lost Ark. Yeah. Right. That was in there too. And in fact, the whole table was like tribal, and there was a skull, and I was like, it was like the Indiana Jones. Like you didn't just like try to spread it out. It was all in there. Yeah. Every time they were in his office, I watched not anybody. I watched the second time. I was watching everything else. There's Mandalorian armor in there.
Oh, cool.
There's
a Sith wasn't like Fett's like uniform or whatever.
Yeah, it's the
like
Mandalorian armor. That's the same thing. Yeah, and then there's a Sith holocron in there, which I don't know. I'm not that deep into the like TV shows. Or do you know what a Sith holocron is?
No.
It's a pyramid looking thing. Someone is like screaming, "Tweet at me! Hate tweet at me! I don't care. I'm not going to delete my account. I don't give a shit." But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff in his office. It's just like a giant, just. And it's just
a collector of, shall we say, rare antiquities.
Right. Yeah. Right. So, all right. So we're about to start spoiling a whole bunch of stuff. So if you have not seen it, go see it.
Go see it.
It's a great movie. That's a heist. It's really a heist movie set in a Star Wars universe.
And it happens a Western.
Yeah, a Western. Yeah, and if you like big. We're gonna if you like a whole bunch of this is my last job, then I'm retiring type situations when it comes to robbers, this is what to watch, because that happens more than once. Actually, more than one person's like, this is my last job.
Yeah, and a Woody Harrelson like moments away from being Danny Glover, just saying I'm too old for this shit.
Right.
Like like the whole fucking movie, man. Like he's just getting out, man. I'm almost done. I'm out of here.
All right, so we've talked the director, we've talked the writers. Okay, so let's talk ratings real quick. So Rotten Tomatoes has it as 71 right now. We don't. Sometimes we like Rotten Tomatoes, sometimes we don't. Sometimes they seem to. They make or break a movie before it even comes out, and I hate it. And that's not a bad score considering some of the stuff they.
Yeah, and that's because they get blasted with those, like, just negative reviews from people. When they calculate.
Well, but see, that's the critics though. So you at least have to be a certain kind of
compilation of critic scores, right?
Yeah, the first one is the audience score, which is a lot less lesser, takes to get in there to make that score. Right. Gives it a 65, which considering the fan base, I'm not surprised.
Well, and also considering the targeted hate for it, I'm actually surprised it's that high.
Agree. Yeah, when I first
people
saw
couldn't go in and tank it intentionally.
Yeah, considering like Last Jedi was in the 50s, I think. Actually, I think Last Jedi for critics was like high, and the audience was way low. So IMDb is about the same, 7.2, and then Metacritic's at a 62, which they kind of line up with audience a lot. But so if you don't know who CinemaScore is, are you familiar with them? Mm-hmm. They're the ones that stay outside the theaters and like hand out stuff.
Right.
So they gave it an A-. So coming out of the theater, I can understand that.
Yeah. Coming out of the theater. No, that's good. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm out of the theater. Was I entertained? Yes. Did it give? So my biggest. So, okay, so we're into spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, turn us off, turn us back on after you've seen it. But I think my biggest gripe, and it's not even a gripe, it's just I know it's what happened and it bugs me, is that before they even started writing the script, there was a whiteboard in a meeting room that had everything that was ever mentioned in the original 3 that pertained to Han. So I won the Falcon from a card game versus Lando. You know how he met Chewie.
Did we know that? Did they ever say anything about
No, they never. We just knew he had a life debt, I believe, is all we knew. Which we still didn't really see.
I can't believe Life Day's continuity. It's canon. Okay.
Is it canon?
I don't know.
I think it's canon from the movies. I thought we were going to get it because he saved his life at least twice. I was like, okay, so are we life deaded now?
Itchy is out there. All right.
So, what else did they mention in the that we get answered in the movie?
Well, then you see the whole like parsecs.
Oh yeah, the 12 parsecs thing was answered.
Which was kind of clever. Yeah, that was kind of clever.
I like the way they did it. They had that's been like
that's
like 40 years of like how is it? It's not speed, it's distance. How is this? How is this a thing? I like
shortcut. Yeah, no, that was clever. We got the origin of his name, which I wasn't sure that we actually needed that. But,
True.
You know, but that was.
Do we like how? And in fact, that's one of my first. So our first scene takes us to Corellia, where he was apparently born and raised.
I'm probably like the only guy that likes it because I can just see some bureaucrat guy sitting there just like, don't know last name.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, considering the war style was very like World War I, like trench warfare. It's almost like. So it's almost like how a lot of folks that are current Americans now got their names.
Yeah, you came through Ellis Island and they screwed up your name.
Yeah, they messed your name up and just wrote down whatever you kind of said.
I'm sure, I'm sure that was not unintended. So
yeah, I'm not sure if I like how on the nose because it's pretty much everyone's always complained that that Lucas has been like, and he's a loner, so his name is Solo, and so it's.
I mean, and did we know he was from Corellia? I mean, we knew the Falcon was a Corellian fighter.
I don't know if we knew.
I don't know that we actually
Corellia.
knew that. Maybe we. I don't know if about extended universe stuff. Somebody will really ream me.
No, I don't think we knew about. I mean, we know about it obviously in the movie, but the dude like make a reference to it, talking about his dad building the ship. So then you just kind of like, okay, he grew up here,
right.
And this is where
I did like the shipyard. I thought it was really cool, like where they're building all the Star Destroyers.
Yeah, well, that's what is it, Carillion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, that's what they're known for. They're known for their ships. And so that's why the Empire took them over and basically forced them to make, TIE fighters and all that shit and everything. And that's why Han Solo talks about Dad building ships like the Millennium Falcon because all they produce now is Empire material.
Because when I used to hear that the Falcon was a Carillion freighter, I thought like on the planet Corellia, that was where they built that kind of ship. But I didn't know it was like basically like it was an Apple ship and like everything, like there's this huge factory planet. Mm-hmm. So anything's
and his father was
anything's a Carillion ship. But
and his father was one that built things like the Millennium Falcon and everything. And that's why he's so familiar with it and everything. But that's also why the Empire put the little flag down.
Did you do reference on? Did you do background on this? How do you?
I can't remember how I stumbled on that, dude. I got lost in some story reading about something somewhere. But yeah, like that's exactly how that whole why they're there.
So we get introduced to him. We see he's really living what Oliver Twist.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of an Oliver Twist story. There's a bunch of kids that this boss lady collects and gathers and sends out to steal stuff and reports back to her with all you get your food for whatever you steal.
Kind of like Ray in a way, out there scavenging parts to turn in and
apparently like that's just like if you're a kid like you're either spoiled and you've never had anything or you're just like they're like kid can fit in that. We need a child actor. Yeah. Yes, they're now going to be slave labor.
They have little hands. I get what you're saying.
So we meet. So he gets back. We meet Kira, who is his girlfriend and his lover, played by Khaleesi from Game of Thrones, played by what is her name?
Emily Clark.
Amelia Clark.
Yeah,
Amelia Clark. So she does a. The last thing she was in was the Terminator reboot, which she was just doing the Sarah Connor impression. But I thought she did pretty good in this movie. I thought she played her part well, especially with the stuff towards the end.
I don't ever think she ever acts any different. Like
she does play the same person, so she got it on. She's got that.
Yeah, down. And I can't tell if she's now like if she's gonna be like a Christopher Walken character or like they're just who they are, like Al Pacino later in his career. They're just like, okay, you're always gonna play this kind of person,
right? This is what you play.
because that's just generally kind of who you are. Like you're not gonna. be some crazy. I don't know if she's gonna be like that crazy actress that like delves into these other roles because really can she, or is she just always gonna be playing this kind of like slightly entitled, may have had a rough upbringing somewhere, but I got to where I'm going, and now I'm gonna be like boss lady.
Well put.
Because she plays that character, and frankly looks like that character quite well. Like.
She has a regalness, yet also vulnerability to her. Mm-hmm. She does. You're right. I didn't even put that together. That she's literally playing, minus not being completely in charge until the very end. She's playing her character from Game of Thrones. She's like bad upbringing. Now I'm kind of the shit, and y'all are gonna, yeah. I'll give you that. That's nicely done. I did not put that together.
I was just like, I like it. She's doing her thing, but it's not like I haven't seen this before.
True, and she does kind of roll into that. So. They have their standard story of we're going to get off this rock. That's the story we're going with. We have to get out of here. And so he is stolen during a trade that he had to like run out on 1 vial of coaxium, which is pretty much space gas.
Gold pressed latinum.
Yeah, but even like jacked up. So it's what powers their hyperdrives.
Right.
So this is like
had we established that before? Or is that
I don't think I've never heard the word coaxium isn't in.
Yeah, I'm sure the hardcore fans are like, no, that was in Dark Horse Darth Vader comic number 4. But I don't know.
Considering the Google nerds and the word nerds in Microsoft, it is still a red squiggly line underneath it, so it is not a real word. So it's trying to fix it. So they're going to take that 1 vial that can buy them a ship to get them out, to at least buy them off the planet by bribing somebody.
Bribe them off the planet, right?
So he breaks away from his creepy snake boss lady so her throne room's in a room that's just got painted over windows, yet she's like a vampire with the sun. So of all the places to have your throne room, is that the only place you could pick?
Well, she looked like she was kind of like water dwelling.
Yeah,
so it just seemed like there was the big enough hole for her to like camp out in her like sewage refuge.
Yeah, it seems that whole race was like the guys that were walking in her. It was almost like it probably was like a queen to worker bee type thing, because they all walked.
Yeah, plus that other dude that was walking around with her that was kind of like her hired muscle, like through the tunnels. Like, he didn't look like he was like you wanted to fuck with him. So everybody was probably like, I'm not gonna go throw a rock up at that breakable glass because that guy is gonna make my life shit.
Right. So I guess that's one of the first times you were supposed to laugh was the thermal detonator joke that he did with the rock.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, that was good.
It was okay.
I mean, you had to know the reference.
True.
You had to know the reference.
But he doesn't know the reference. So it's one of those fan service things where it's like, do I need this? Like, it's a boss person and the person threatening with it. I mean, maybe thermal detonator threatening happens all the time.
Yeah, I laughed. I laughed.
I laughed the first time.
And then I judged the shit out of it the second time.
Then I sat in the back and typed, do we need to do this? I'm that guy judging it. So they escape and they get a car chase, which I remember watching it when Court and I went and watched it. I was like, this is what pod racing should have looked like, because this was a great. All the action up front, all the action in this movie, even the second viewing, is fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
Just edge of your seat, like good action stuff. Every action scene, there's like 4 big ones, and it was all great, both times. Just putting that out there. So yeah, I just want to make sure.
It.
I did. I was even to the Kessler run. I was like, still like, oh, is he gonna make it? Like, I fucking know he makes it, but it was still really good. So yeah, so he escapes. Kira's with him. They have this chase through the streets. They get to where they're trying to buy their way out, and they get up to the checkpoint where the gate is. The people who are looking for them are hot on their tail, and they bribe the gate lady, whose job is just to open and close the gate with their vial of coaxium. And that was a nice, intense scene.
I feel like that wouldn't even got him, like, really, like, out the door. Like, you know, I know that was a gate, so it was like, because they're like, it'll buy our way through, like, to zone, blah, blah, blah. They make some, like, comment, right?
Yeah, they gave it all up at the first
right?
door. Yeah, that's true.
So I'm sitting there going, well, dude, what if they're, like, at gate 8? Is, like, zone 34 just, like, adjacent to this thing? Or...
Yeah, it got me through the security scan, but it didn't get me on the plane.
Yeah, right. Like, so, I mean, I was a little...
Yeah.
That was, like, in my, like, if I'm going to overanalyze the shit out of something right now,
well, we did.
Like, that was me going... It wasn't like an eyedropper,
yeah,
like, you know, like a little bit for somebody.
Here's
like
a little bit.
Yeah.
Here's $100, not the whole bag of money. Right. Well, And what's even weirder is like the clear door that he was on the other side of, like, so that's this magic barrier that they snatch her on the way as he's going through. They couldn't, like, hey, do you want to open that again so I can get that guy too?
Right.
Like there was none of that. They just grabbed her and drug her off, and he's screaming at the door for 5 minutes, like, you're trying to get out of here, man. Like, what are they gonna do? Stop her? Like, drop her and let her go and run to the door? It's not gonna happen. Like, get away. And then like he didn't have. You're right. There was nowhere to. It wasn't like he walked into paradise. He just walked into the next row of shit happening.
And then like throws on some shell and like basically like goes and hides behind some boxes for a few minutes, you know, like.
Yeah, and while he's there, okay, so another canon issue. So the Imperial March that we've heard and we all know and love, so that's also canon because it was playing over the Join the Empire like Nazi.
That's right.
It was playing it like in the movie. That was a very. That's almost like, especially when you're talking like John Williams' score that will go down as one of the greatest scores in all of history of music in general, not just scores. Like to just drop that in there, like it's almost like supposed to be funny. Like it almost may have been like a holdover from the. I don't know if it was a joke, but that's not. I'm not a diehard like get mad at it Star Wars fan. I love the universe. I love the movies. I love whatever I can partake of it, but I'm not like losing sleep over this movie because it's good or bad or anything that comes out. I thought that was a little bit far from me. It was just weird. Nothing. Everybody staring at me.
I didn't catch it. First of all.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't.
They had shifted it like a half step up, like octave wide, like it wasn't quite the right notes, but it was the Imperial March. It was brightened because it was like a propaganda song.
Right. I don't know that I noticed that.
It was interesting.
I'll have to process that.
Like I'll have to think about
to decide if I'm annoyed by it or not.
So he goes. So Han has always wanted to be a pilot. So he goes up to the first So he goes through this area where the Empire is signing folks up, and he's like, "I want to be a pilot." The guy's like, "Okay, great. What's your name, Han? What's your surname? Who your people?" He's like, "I don't have anybody." And then that's where we get Solo. So that's great. We get him named, and then so apparently we pick up from there in just some war on some planet where 3 years later he is flunked out of flight school because he had a mind of his own or whatever he told Beckett later on, and also in the trailer.
I really wanted to see him in Stormtrooper gear.
I know.
I was waiting for him to Stormtrooper come and pull the helmet off, and it was going to be him like he'd been trained as a trooper, and I was waiting for that actually.
That would have been cool.
Join the Empire, and I thought he was going to be a Stormtrooper.
We want that back. We want that 3-year backstory now. Make that one after the Boba Fett film. We'll see that one, like Han in the Empire, especially the way he was behaving towards his commanding people during this portion of the movie. I was like, that 3 years has got to be a hoot.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it would just be like...
But he's still a fantastic pilot, so that whole...
Wasn't there like an Ernest Goes to Army movie or something
like
that? Because that would be like the whole song.
You know what you could have done? You could have done Stripes with Han Solo.
Right, yeah. Right.
Basic training. That would have been great.
That'd have been so great. I'm sure they listen to our podcast. They'll take that under advisement, Disney. You're welcome. You own everything anyway, so it's fine.
Bring back some of the older guys that just have just a completely just rambling Chevy Chase, overweight, fully kind of slightly racist a little bit, and just bring them all back, man. Let them have all their flaws and
Sergeant
everything.
Hulka. I would like
So we pick up in this war on whatever planet it is, and this was actually one of the ones that was I was impressed with this part of the whole battle scene. It's short lived, but it's also once again well done. Really gritty, just war, 5 minutes of good war stuff.
When I was watching it, I kept thinking if I were a soldier on either side, I would probably shoot my own men because I couldn't always tell who was who.
Yeah, that's always been.
That's why I like the Stormtrooper uniform because at least I know those are the bad guys or who if I'm a Stormtrooper, I know what a Stormtrooper looks like. Half the guys I was like, are they shooting their own men here or not? I can't tell.
Plus, if you're on any green fielded area or desert, you can just pinpoint who a Stormtrooper is. That's true. Good or bad, you're gonna know what they are.
Our desert
go to Hoth.
Yeah.
Our desert gear is white with a brown shoulder pad. Only one, though.
Or a reflective orange.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So during this scene, we meet Beckett, not Captain Beckett, even though he's wearing a captain's uniform full of laser blast holes. We meet Beckett and Mal. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Mal. I didn't even look her name. I didn't even look her name up.
Val, but
Maybe it was Val. Am I wrong?
I always thought it was like Mao, like literally like MAOW.
Mao.
Val.
It is Val.
I am incorrect.
Okay.
It is Val. We meet Val, who is Beckett's partner / lover / wife-ish type thing, and another being that is with them in full stormtrooper garb, but is definitely not, since he has an extra pair of arms that ends up hiking his pants up later on. He's pretty much like a little four-armed monkey by the end of it all.
Yeah, that's a good character.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he had his moments. Some of his stuff was a little bit flat too. I couldn't help it. I was just like, so we meet them, and Han overhears them talking about a score. So he's like, wait a second, like you guys aren't stormtroopers. Like you're not really here. So Beckett gets him arrested. He's like, oh, you think the lieutenant's gonna care? Come here, lieutenant. This guy's a deserter. Like, wait a second. And toss him in with the beast. And so you're like, all right, so we're doing the whole Rancor type thing. We're tossing him down to it. Apparently, it's just the universe they live in. It's just pits with things to eat you.
Yeah, I have to admit that I was waiting for that to be a Rancor pit.
Yeah, I mean
that one I actually clapped when we found out what it was. I was ready for the Rancor to come. I was waiting for the guy,
At which point did you know it was Chewie?
I don't remember. I mean, not too terribly long, but I guess before they showed him. But the whole time I'm like, oh great, Rancor pit, here we go.
I was like, is it gonna be? Are we gonna waste it on a beast, or is this how he's gonna meet you?
Yeah,
it's gotta be.
That was pretty good.
Did you like him speaking Wookiee? This is the first time ever in the history
that anyone's ever said. I don't know. I'm not sure how much that
was a little bit
worked for me. I mean, all right.
Like, I would have liked it better because I know he's supposed to be choking, as he was like speaking Wookiee, but like when people are actually getting choked and they try to talk and it's like gurgly. Like, I wish it would have been him actually trying to say something like, "Don't fucking kill me," and it like was like as he's trying to talk, and like he was like,
wait a minute.
Whoa, wait a minute. Like, and then like you got the whole like, I mean, I know there was the pause and everything, but it was like he was just like, oh shit, I could have hollered at him as he was like coming up, from the muddy pit, because it's pretty easy to identify what it is at that point in time.
I don't think I think you can understand Wookiee without having to speak it. I would just think the fact that he could understand Chewie would be like, whoa, hold on a second.
Right.
Because Chewie obviously understands English, or whatever language they're speaking. I mean, he can understand Han when Han's speaking normally, anybody else speaking normally, but it's a rare talent to be able to understand Wookiee. So I don't know that Han necessarily has to be able to speak it to understand it.
It's almost like, so now all the kids who have made that noise for 40 years know that they're actually doing it right.
Right, that's true.
There's a little bit, it's just fan service left and right. It's fine. We're okay with that. All right, so.
And when we get to the whole continuity stuff, I have questions about Chewbacca, but anyway. So.
Which part?
Well, I'll talk about that later.
Okay, all right.
I'll ask my question about that later when we're like, what's up with that?
Okay, so needless to say, Chewie and him become fast friends. They break out. They catch up to Beckett and his crew stealing what they came there for, which is just a hauling vessel of some sort. It's meant for just heavy load, like just winching heavy loads, and that's the entire job of the ship.
Right. Now, that thing was cool.
Very cool.
Very cool. Like, and they had the railing where you could stand outside. Like, that was cool. I thought that was a really... There's sometimes you see ships that are designed, you're like, really? That's like the most impractical design. But like, that one actually kind of made sense if you're stealing. It's like, I thought that was a cool design.
Like, for an industrial ship, you're like, yeah, that's an industrial...
Yeah,
like,
it was cool.
Vibe to it. I like how it had like the, I guess almost like oil. Like you were talking about the catwalk, but it's like it looked like it was like the front of like an oil rig, kind of like stair pattern and stuff like that. Makes me wonder what they used. Like or did they just build that little cat piece on set?
$250 million budget.
Now the other thing, did
they actually have the ship?
Did anybody ever play on Nintendo 64? Was it Rogue Squadron?
No, but I know of it.
Okay, because there's a mission in there that's exactly like that, where there's like the long train on the track. And they might even have called it I think it might even be the Spice Run. I can't remember. It's been too long now, and I'm old. But that train is straight out of that video game.
I love the
when that came up, I'm like, I've shot that thing. Like it's right out of a video game.
Didn't he say something like we're not stealing spices or something?
Yeah,
like
I think
that?
so, 'cause I think it's a spice run in the video game.
Well, they call it where the stuff is manufactured. The people on that planet call it spice.
Okay.
The coaxium, they call it. I think they call it spice.
Well, maybe that was its code, but yeah, that's right out of a video game. That was one of those. I was like, okay, there's a clever little Easter egg.
I have to look that up.
Straight out of it. It's like Rogue Squadron or something, where you could, if you knew the code, the secret password Farm Boy and typed it in, you could actually fly the Millennium Falcon. So.
Nice. Speaking of that, since we're talking ship design, do you know what that notch is for in the front of the Millennium Falcon normally?
I always thought it was like so you could like pick stuff up, like it was almost like a winch.
It was the one thing I saw was like. It was like it moved like large giant containers.
Yeah, that's
like it's like a tugboat. It just parked it and just drove it forward with it. Yeah, it was kind of cool. But now right now, do you like to change to the Millennium Falcon?
That they broke
jump
it?
ahead a little bit.
That they broke the front of
it. He put the escape pod was there.
Yeah,
that's where Lando had installed the escape pod. So that's when you're looking at it, you're like, well, how does it become what we know? That's what I did like for the whole second half. I was like, or the whole second act. I was like, well, how does it get to be how it's good?
How does it get to be cool?
Right. It doesn't look cool. And it's like that. So Han convinces Beckett to let him go on their run. Their whole point, like we were talking about earlier, was to steal the coaxium off this train on this ice planet, or at least where they were was cold. I don't know if it's the whole planet. Seems to be every planet is all of whatever it is.
Yeah, you're either a volcano planet or a snow planet. Yeah.
Right. So this scene this is the first heist scene of the movie. Very good.
Yeah.
Very cool. I liked it. It was like almost like a roller coaster train because it bent with the
tilted,
with the contour. Yeah. Like that just added like we're not just on the train. We're on a train that twists and turns and lays over.
And the thing I'll say about it, and this is to Ron Howard's credit, is like you could always understand, you could tell what was going on the whole time, which is kind of tough and stuff like that. When you're like you've got new machinery in, but like you could always tell what was going on, which is pretty cool.
A lot of action movies these days, you're just staring at the screen like, I'll pause that later on Blu-ray because I have no clue.
Wait, which guy was that? Yeah,
right. I have no clue what the last 5 minutes did for me, but yeah, you're absolutely right. So during So before the heist itself, you have like a campfire backstory. So this is another one of like, not sure I needed this story, but you see Han's blaster get made.
Yes.
So Beckett breaks down what looks to be a sniper rifle because it has a scope on it and a big long barrel, and he breaks it down and just like kisses it and tosses it to him. And you see like, okay, now I know how he got his blaster. It's not just a blaster; it's this one that this guy made for him. So that was something we got. We learned.
Which again, no other Star Wars figure ever had that gun. So, Han's gun is a one-of-a-kind gun.
It must be. I mean, yeah, it's made from parts of a sniper rifle, which may actually also play to its accuracy. Because even in like the video games, that gun is like stupid accurate, like far away. It's like, oh, that's why, because it's a sniper rifle with a shortened barrel. That makes complete sense now. Okay, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, but how often was Han really looking down the barrel?
Never from the hip.
With the gang that couldn't shoot straight coming after him. So.
You also get some backstory on Beckett and Val. She is. By the way, Val is played by Thaddeus Newton, who plays Maeve on Westworld. We're currently doing our Westworld review every week that there's not a big movie in the theaters. So we did episodes 5 and 6 last week because there was Solo had come out, but then we're doing it this week, and then we did Avengers came out and Deadpool 2. So we're kind of like splitting it up. This is our first summer. We're about to hit our 1-year anniversary for the podcast.
He's trying to make like it's hard. Oh no, we shifted days to go watch a movie.
Well, I'm glad. Well, truthfully, I'm glad the box office was a little bit low the first weekend of Solo because I was like, well, good. This not going to hurt anything anyways by putting it back a week. So we get some more of their backstory. Let's see what else they talk about around the campfire. It was a girl that he's going for. He tells his whole like, I'm going back to. Like, why do you think she's still there? Like, were the conditions that bad that you think that 3 years later she's still going to be there? Like, he was all about going right back to Corellia.
Yeah, that's true.
Didn't one of them kind of call him out on that?
They did.
Like everyone's like, you're not going back.
You're not going to go to. It was the monkey. It was The monkey, whatever his name is. I didn't put his name in because Rio Durant is his name, voiced by Jon Favreau, by the way.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
Okay.
I couldn't tell either. I actually expected more from Jon Favreau, to be honest. A little bit.
Although I don't know, he doesn't really have one of those voices, I guess. But
I expect a little more emotion. He had his moments. His death scene. Spoiler alert. Not that we're not already there. But I was like, oh man, that's why I didn't write his name down, because like you introduce these really cool characters we've never heard of before, and you whack both of them.
Right.
Oh, you whack all three by the end of the movie. It's like, then thank you. Just
Yeah,
Han and
well,
Chewie. Don't forget whose backstory is this fucker.
that's right.
Just Han and
we know
Chewie.
they live because they're in the
Well,
next.
that's because like that's just because they're like Star Wars can only survive if it's one circle outside of the original. The
fandom can't take it any
Yeah.
further.
You're not far from wrong.
You're not. It's really bad. So the heist. That's right. During the campfire, Val mentions Enfys Nest. Like, she is gonna. He's like, what if she shows up? He's like, she won't show up. My contact is the only one who knows about this. She won't show up, or that person won't show up. Crap. Oh well. They didn't say she because they don't know that either. Because it was a very big surprise at the end of the movie that made no sense either to me.
Yeah, I got to talk about that too.
Yeah, we'll get to there. So as they're doing their heist, the standard stuff happens. They trigger something, and the droids come out and they pin Val where she's supposed to blow the bridge. The stormtroopers come out from the back end of the train, start shooting everybody. It all goes to shit, but everything still kind of sticks together. Things are getting connected. Right. The whole point is to hook their ship they stole to the very last, or one of the car, or to one of the cars that has the coaxium in it, and then blow the bridge, pull all the connectors to it, and just fly away with
the car.
So there you go. That's what they're supposed to do. That doesn't happen at all. That kind of happens. So during this heist, Rio, who we just talked about his name for the first time, gets shot. Someone gets on his ship. Enfys Nest arrives. They're just there to steal from the Stealers, pretty much, and they're on like modified looking speeder things.
They're hot boys, and
they're
the warriors.
Just clinking bottles.
Okay, so a D boy is somebody who sells drugs. And the hot boy is the guy who robs the drug dealers. Like, he just goes, I'm not doing any of the work. I'm going to go let you sell your drugs, make your money, and then I'm going to go rob your ass of your money.
Who says you don't learn shit on this podcast?
I want to know how he knew that.
Just watch his Twitter feed. All right. So, heist goes bad.
Now, which one of you was Sloth Bear? That's you. Okay.
Yeah. I just run. Clay just runs the Two Dads Review Twitter account. Okay. He had the password for a while. I was like, nah, I'll just retweet you.
It's like, I'll be taking that.
We can't. I can't trust him with the Twitter account.
Nah, man, get me going on my thumbs, and I'm liable to say something stupid.
You get a bad blood sugar night, and you're like, oh, here we go.
It'll be toilet tweeting in no time.
Let's see. So, end of the heist. Val gets pinned down by a variation of the scout drones we saw in Empire. They
look like the probe droid.
They look kind of like the probe
from
droid.
the very opening scene, the one that Han destroys.
Right.
Yeah.
Except these ones are armed to the teeth. They got her pinned down. She's supposed to blow the bridge.
Like the big cockroaches.
She then proceeds to kill herself. Tells Beckett, it's been a ride. I wouldn't change it for the world or whatever. And he good on Woody Harrelson. Like he is not Bruce Willis. He does not phone shit in. Because everything Bruce Willis has been in the last 10 years, it's like you could put a block of wood.
It's funny you say, because I totally agree. My wife and I were having the conversation on the way home, and we were like, name anything he's been in that he hasn't been interesting and great. Mm-hmm. It's like, weird, yeah, but like I'm with you.
He does play the weird guy.
He is all in all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, really, Woody Harrelson? Like, when I heard he was in the scene, I was like, really, Woody Harrelson? And he was awesome in it.
Yes, he did very good. Yeah, we watched Death Proof because the internet told us to.
That's right.
And God, Bruce Willis is he just doesn't give a shit. He's just like, where's my paycheck? Where do I stand? Jesus. Let me mouth this line.
I think like Red was probably the last thing I like.
Yeah, Red was good.
Welcome to the party, pal.
They didn't give me any good lines any good catchphrases in Death Proof, or not Death Proof. What was it called? What was it called that he was in?
I don't know.
We just talked. I just said it. Death Wish.
Death Wish.
Oh yeah, not
Yeah.
Death Proof because that's
Not
the one.
Death Proof.
That's the Quentin Tarantino.
Right,
one.
right. Death Wish. I mean, it was. And what's really bad is like I went back and watched the '70s movie, and it was. That one was way more.
Charles Bronson.
That was great. It was a great story, way more believable, like of the setup than just like the hooded guy who gets to.
I always watched when I was a kid. They used to show Death Wish 2 on HBO all the time. It has that great line at the end where he goes, "Oh no, we won't," where he kills the guy.
I can't believe that guy was like it in Hollywood back then.
Do you remember The Simpsons when they go to Bronson, Missouri?
Jesus.
I saw a GIF, and it was definitely like a GIF from like the old early '90s, late '80s like action flicks, and it was a dude tied up in the chair, and like the bad guy was behind a wall, like waiting for the guy to come in, but it was on the other side of the corridor. So the good guy comes in and sees the guy in the chair, and the guy in the chair kind of like eyeballs him that like, yo, bad guy's behind the wall. So he just takes the gun and points it at the wall, and he's like. And the guy like moves his eyes up. And then,
what movie?
And then like the guy in the chair nods and he just fires and blows his brains
I don't know
out.
what that is.
That may not. Is it that late? Is it that old?
Yeah, because it's got.
I swear I've seen it in something recent.
Okay,
They're probably just playing off of it.
remember.
Oh, we leave this part.
Oh yeah.
You know. Oh God, Saul from Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah, Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah, and he has his new TV show.
Yeah.
Have you watched any of that?
I will give you the hot take on this and say that I think it is better than Breaking Bad. But
Yeah, I've watched part of it because the guy I'm talking about is the dude that plays the ticket guy for the parking lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
Jonathan. Yes, please, Jonathan. I can't think of his last name right now, but I'll get that. I didn't realize there was a choice. Yeah, and so he was the heavy in Beverly Hills Cop
Yeah, okay.
because he was the one that killed Eddie Murphy's friend in the hallway.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, as soon as you would see him, you would know exactly who
I love
he
that
is.
actor, and he's so great in Better Call Saul. But it's Jonathan something. Damn it.
What movie? Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, and he was in. I'm way older than you guys on this. There was a great TV show in the '80s called Wise Guy, and it was where they put this guy in the whole series. It was like putting this guy undercover in the mob, and he played the guy's like FBI contact. That's not him. It's Jonathan. Go to Better Call Saul. This guy that plays Mike Ehrmantraut on Better Call Saul. There he is,
Yeah,
Jonathan
right.
Banks.
Yep.
Yeah, he was in Wise Guy on TV, and he was fantastic.
Nice.
But the only thing I can think of him in was Beverly Hills Cop, and he buys it in that, but I don't think that way.
But anywho, yeah, that's all that was.
That's right. Good way to carry you. I got here. So something I noticed on the second viewing that I did not notice the first time is that when the Emphas nests, like her theme, I think it was a kids chorus doing it. It wasn't like adult singing. So it kind of gave it away if you knew later on, like it gave it away there at this scene when you first get introduced to the character. You don't know that face is fully covered, and I think the chorus is like it's like a kids chorus doing her theme. So it's like, okay, it makes more sense now at the end of the movie. So anyways, all right, so Val is dead, the monkey Rio is dead.
It's kind
Beckett. So at the end of the heist, no one gets it. They drop.
He has to drop it because
They're basically in a tug of war going at a cliff.
Right. And Beckett and Chewie are hanging on, and Han's like, I'm cutting it loose because we're not gonna make it. Like,
now, don't you remember in the original Star Wars, one of the reasons Han got in trouble with Jabba is because he had ditched his cargo. It's like the same thing.
right. It's like they're. I tell you, there's a whiteboard.
Yeah, for
at
him,
Disney.
it was like
we have to touch all these things that are Han's.
They make some reference to like I think even Greedo says it, like Jabba doesn't like doesn't like smugglers who dump their cargo at the side of Imperial cruisers, and so anyway.
Right. That's right.
Sorry.
So they all drop it, and this thing hits that mountain and just
shit up.
blows the entire mountain is like gone.
Yeah.
That was a cool explosion. It was almost like watery, like you had a normal explosion. There was like this like water.
Yeah, this ripple.
Yeah, very cool. So
Yeah,
that's
it was almost like they took like an implosion from underwater, and they were like, okay, if we just stuck it on a mountain and made it look like that, like that's what it would.
I was kind of waiting for like the rest of it. Like it had the initial blow, and then it like did this weird like implosion. Then I was like, okay, so now this is like when half the like there's gonna carve a whole chunk of the planet out.
Yeah, because if it's enough fuel, I mean, there was a lot of fuel, and that's what you used to power a Star Destroyer, and it's just, I mean, it blows up a mountain. I was kind of with you. I was waiting for like the kick.
I was like, we can blow up a mountain with a nuke these days. I mean, that'll take a mountain out. So I mean, give me something that's like I want to see where they fly from the planet. Like there is a noticeable missing chunk of the entire planet. But yeah, so. All right, so that's it. So now we just have Han and Chewie and Beckett, and that's it. And Beckett is worried because he has to go tell his boss, like, we didn't get it. Let's see. So we head to, and apparently he was like driving his. So Dryden Voss is his boss. Apparently he was driving his, like, yacht. What did he call it?
Space yacht.
He called it it was like a horribly tall, stupid-looking ship.
It's like Jabba's sail barge.
Yeah. Except it was like straight up in the air, which is like, why would you even...
That was weird, especially like then when you see it take off, it's almost like a joke. It's like a shoe coming up the ground, or levitating off the screen.
And Dryden Voss is played by none other than the actor who plays Vision in all the Marvel comics. Paul Bettany. And he is
in every Ron Howard film.
Who's also played Jeffrey Chaucer in A Knight's Tale, which is probably one of his best performances ever.
He also plays the Unabomber in that series on, I think, Netflix or.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay.
Damn, I don't know. I didn't know that.
Well, Brian wins that one. We all tried to one up each other with the movie we knew he was in.
I went basic with Vision. Sorry.
But yes, Chaucer in Knight's Tale. That's true.
So we get the standard...
Beautiful Mind. He's always in a Ron Howard film. Go ahead.
That's fine. We can go any tangent you want. We got all night. We get the... I'm not going to say standard, but we always get a musical number / entertainment style every Star Wars movie, pretty much. You get a lively event of the upper class or lower, depending, because you had the, cantina. That was not upper class, folks, in the original. So, and we get a... just a look at the lay of the land, and Han and Chewie are left there. Beckett goes, oh, we do see Voss killing some random governor of something.
Yeah, and you get to see the singer with the box.
Yep, and she was singing with, like, Krang from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just without the robot.
Yeah. And that box, because there's another little piece of information.
Oh, I love it when you actually...
Is this something that drug dealers have?
No. The box was, it's like a voice... modulator, or not a modulator, but it
universal translator.
Yeah, universal translator. So as she's singing, it's going to everybody else can hear it in the way they need to hear it. Yeah,
nice.
I thought it was like the Peter Frampton.
Yeah, right.
I have to admit, this never happens to me. I went to the bathroom at that point. I missed like 3 minutes of it, so I missed that.
Oh, the opening, like when they were coming
right
in
as they came into that, and it's like I never do that in the movies, but I went to the bathroom.
What else did they show us? You pretty much got Han walking around until Kira tapped him on the shoulder, and he was like, "Oh God, I'm so glad to see you." I saw that part. So yeah, you didn't miss anything. It was a little bit,
I missed the establishing shot.
Yeah, establishing shot of like all the different alien creatures, and Voss was. So if you didn't know, Voss was like killing some regional governor or something with his little...
Yeah, because they make some offhand comment. They're like, he's dealing with the,
local official.
Yeah, local official taxes.
And like they cut to him like pulling his blades out of the guy, and that was it. And then...
He's pagan men from Far Cry.
Right. So Voss comes out, greets Beckett. He's all acting,
I'm so glad he's here to summarize this, because
this is what
oh yeah, right.
This is what I do. It's what usually kicks him into like, oh yeah, in this part, and 20 minutes in.
I'm like, oh right.
I'm stuck going through like how the plot went, and because I saw it last night, it's close enough. And Wikipedia had a pretty good write up this time, so I'm okay with that. So we see Kira again, and Voss comes out. Beckett's with him. They all kind of do their thing, and they go off in the room, and it's pretty much. So tell me how I'm not supposed to kill you right now, because you've dropped my load. You dropped the load. It's gone, and
drop the load.
Yeah, no, can't unsay that. And so they come up with Kira comes up with the idea. Actually, I don't. It's kind of this scene played off a little bit interesting because it was. I knew what they were going for, but I don't feel they hit it.
Well, no, because they were doing.
Nobody knew anything. Well, they all kind of knew a little bit of something, and it kind of became a plan.
Yeah, they were doing that thing where like one of them's like, "Well, yeah, man, we'll just pick up the pieces, right?" And then one's like, "Yeah, because Colonial Cruiser's coming by on a Tuesday," and the other one goes, "Yeah, and God, what's my contribution to this fucking team? Like,
It's improv, yes, and
Right, and they all had something.
and you could see Han and her looking back and forth at each other, like, we're making a sentence.
Right. Yeah. So they come up with, instead of going for refined coaxium, they go for unrefined coaxium, which adds the extra added danger to the situation that it's very volatile and has to get from the mining process to the refinement in a certain amount of time, or it's going to explode.
Yeah, I love how this shit's just like basically the nitroglycerin of the future.
Right. So they do that with Westworld. Yeah, exactly. It's the nitro. It's the wagon of nitro, all packed nicely, and don't jar it, don't jostle it. To the point where they like open it up and look at it. So,
yeah.
And they show you like, oh, it's getting red. That means something's fucking wrong.
And they're dragging it around at one point, like clink, 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 clink.
Where they knock one of them off and like Han catches it just in time to like not to completely destroy the mines. It's like
because that was what I was sitting there like because the way the meter was, you know, like it was going red, but it was like it's almost like it's a timer because nothing else they did with it was like remotely close to handle with care, you know.
Right. A bunch of weak Wookiees dragging up the ship, yeah. So their whole point is to go to Kessel and sneak their way in their nefarious fashion and steal a chunk of unrefined coaxium, get it out. They need a ship, and Kira's like, I know somebody. And so then we get what I personally would say is the best performance of the movie. Not only was Donald Glover doing a perfect impression of, why am I blanking on his name?
Billy D.
Billy D. Williams, but he also added his own flair to it, and I thought was the standout of the whole movie. I liked his character the best because it did just enough. Because there were times where the guy who was playing Solo was doing like Harrison Ford. I noticed him the second time a lot more than the first time, where he was doing. I was like, oh, that's I've seen Harrison Ford do
that's that thing. Yeah.
That's that thing he does.
There's a couple of those.
Yeah, not like when you first heard Donald Glover talk, he was Billy D. Williams, and it was great.
And it's so funny how everybody's in love with Lando now because when we were kids and like if you were playing with your Star Wars figures, nobody wanted the Lando figure. Everyone's like, that Lando's lame. Nobody wants him. But it's like how far we've come now. Like he's become the cool character.
Right. So
well, that's just like a whole reference then back to like 21 Jump Street for the writers when the first day they go back to high school and he like parks in the handicap spot with his muscle car and like everybody's like going green and all this stuff and Jonah Hill's character's like, if I would have just went to school 10 years later, I would have been cool. Like, oh my God.
I mean, Lando was cool. He was the right guy at the wrong time.
Yeah, right. So we get the card game, and we all expect it to be, because we know from the original trilogy that Han won the Falcon from Lando in a card game. So this card game, we know, okay, cool. Here's our fan service. They're going to show us how
great
to
bit of
win.
misdirection, yeah.
Right, and then so he doesn't win it, and their banter. Alden Ehrenreich held his own in this scene, I thought.
And how great is it that Lando called him Han all the time, which was like the thing when you watch Empire, it makes you insane that Billy D cannot say Han.
It's Han, but that's okay.
And they made it was great. Like they made it a bit. It was great.
Right. That felt like it was left in there from the original machine.
Yeah, and that part even was tone perfect. Because especially as a fan, you're like, Billy D cannot say Han
at all, ever.
Say Han. He says it I think one time finally, but it's a Han. Because as a kid when I heard that, I was like, is it really Han? I didn't know. Maybe.
Are we all wrong?
Yeah, if I have this wrong all the time.
I mean, Billy D's got to be right.
Exactly. He's Billy D.
I remember having arguments with like my friends and like some of his like older brothers and stuff where they'd be like, or somebody would be like, it's Han Solo, and I'm like, dude's not from fucking Nebraska, man. Like, it's not. That's not how you say it. It's just wrong.
It's a piece of IKEA furniture, the Han Solo.
Yeah, right. Also in this scene, we get a Ron Howard staple, Clint Howard.
Clint Howard.
Right, Clint Howard was in an episode. In fact, he is one of the only people in the Star Trek universe who's also been in like every series there has. Because he had a scene in Discovery recently too, as well.
Yeah, getting all high.
Getting all high in a higher echelon like bar type situation with strippers and shit on Star Trek. Who'da thunk?
Yep.
He's high as shit. It was great. Anytime Clint Howard shows up unexpected Clint is the best Clint ever.
Yep.
Every
I feel
time.
like that's the only.
It's the only way Clint should ever be.
No, like even in real life, like he just kind of like will probably just wait somewhere for like just an extra 5 minutes, just so he can like pop up at like the opportune time.
Oh, Clint.
Yeah, you always look for the Clint Howard appearance. In the
Yeah.
Clint Howard movie.
Hey, man! Did Ron direct? No, he didn't direct any of the Discovery episodes. Clint was in there because he's Star Trek. You still need to. I've made him only watch a couple. Like he's not a Trekkie, like by any shape of the means. So I've like made him watch a couple of the episodes of TNG. They're like my favorite.
No,
But I need to take him back and make him watch the Ron Howard at 7. Like because Ron Howard or Clint Howard at 7 in the original like Star Trek.
Oh God!
He-
but first, the Tranya.
And he looks just like he does now.
He does.
Just a smaller body, bigger head, and it's really
With
really,
the weird
really-
voice dubbed in.
Right, not even his voice. That's like, yeah, it's like it's
I
horrible.
hope you cherish it as much as I.
He plays like a child god. Like he's all I remember that episode, but I know I was like, that's Clint Howard
Yep.
because it's definitely Clint Howard. It's creepily.
These weird teeth and.
Yeah, that never got fixed ever. All right, so we also meet L3-37, which is meant to spell leet, which is like
What?
you God. It's this of all the shit
Leet
that's bugged
speak,
me.
baby.
Yeah, that's like leet speak was like 10 years ago. Like stop. Like that's.
What? I didn't even know that.
Yeah. See, look, it says L337.
Hi, fellow teenagers.
Yeah. Except teenagers don't talk like that.
I don't know what
anymore.
that is. Yeah. I'm like Steve Buscemi in that video. Hello, fellow teenagers.
See, L337, leet.
Well, I knew that. I didn't know it was. What's leet? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, that's because you're
Old.
45.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
older than
that's
that.
the
Go with
that's
that.
the short that's the short term for elite.
It's how it's
Oh!
whenever you spell something with letters and numbers. And
Right,
it's all
but I didn't know
cool.
what leet meant.
Yeah, it's
Elite.
yeah, it's off of elite. Yeah, so that like the fact that got put in there, like
Nobody hepped me to that, dude.
Right, we're hip, we're cool. Says Lawrence Kasdan, who's how old?
Older than me.
All right, my son pulled up to me today in the go-kart like I was a prostitute on the side of the road. He goes, "Damn girl, you looking good. $20?" And I was like,
I was like, I kind of want to punch you, but I kind of want to
What?
hug you.
First of all, I was like, that's just a weird thing to say to your dad, man. I was like, second, like, I don't know what kind of whores you're buying, but for $20, man, you're not doing a good job.
Didn't I teach you better than that?
right, you got to at least pull out
Wait, no, I
50.
didn't.
You bargained the time down, not the money.
Yeah. So you're catching
I don't need an hour.
You're catching something, man.
Half an hour?
Oh, I closed my notes out. Hold on,
yeah, I
switch
didn't-
back
I-
over.
That's news to me on leet. I didn't
Yeah,
know
that's
I
kind
mean,
of
I
that's
caught the
kind
name,
of
but-
eh. So
That was a great character, though. I like that character.
you like yeah, she was.
I liked it.
She was interesting. I'm not sure she knew what she was doing. I'm not sure she knew what her goal was. Like, because in this one we see her like trying to. She's yelling at the droids in this like droid fight. It's like BattleBots like in the future. And so she's like, you don't have to fight for these people. They're making you can just, you don't have to do it. But then at the end, when she's inciting her riot, she didn't do it on purpose. She just needed the droid to get out of her way. She's like, here, the training bolt off. Go free your brethren and let me get to this computer screen.
That's
and then
true.
she was all like excited. She started like the rebellion. We're like,
You already did that.
you didn't mean to. Like, you didn't mean to. You need to get to that where that droid was. Like, that was just a little bit
Well,
weird.
that was like her whole thing earlier, though, because
Yeah, right here during this scene when we meet Lando.
No, but even before that, like, because she's giving Lando and everybody shit about like,
Her whole shtick is that.
yeah,
it's
like droids,
He's like, can I? What did he say to her? Like at some point in the Falcon when he gets up, he's like, you need anything? She's like, equal rights.
yeah, like yeah,
She says that.
Got that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't hear it the first time. It was like garbled, like the audio was garbled, and I didn't really hear it the first time. But the second time, I was like, oh, she said equal rights. Like that's not even.
I mean, it is weird in the Star Wars universe that like you can own a sentient being that will call you master. That is a little weird.
But it's been like there's slaves all over.
I understand, but it is a little weird. Like, like 3PO can be owned by somebody.
Right.
And will call you master.
So Han does.
There's a lot more going on with Lando and L3, though, than...
Oh, boy. It's not even hidden. You got to do that thing later.
well, that's when they had to come back out and be like, Solo's pansexual.
Yeah, I'm so tired of people trying to just make everything relevant to today. I can't do it anymore. Like, just kind of have a fun movie to watch. Because do you need the... I mean, because the droid, she's like fembot. She's like not like fembot like Austin Powers fembot, but like feminist bot, like you program like everything you hear day to day when it comes to and it's like, do we need that? Do I need that in a fun Han Solo movie? Like, we can't check every box.
Yeah, and it's like, and he even makes a comment like the only reason like I won't wipe her is because she has like the databases, the best galaxy map databases in there, and I'm sitting there going like, well, dude, it's 2018, and I can make an archive of one folder if I want. Like we could have fixed that problem.
But I mean, that was cool that she essentially became the Navicomputer for the Falcon,
right?
Giving it away. But I mean, that was a cool touch.
And that's fan service because when Han says 3PO go talk to the Navicomputer.
Oh, and 3PO talks about the language.
She's like, I don't know what, or 3PO goes, I don't know who programmed your Navicomputer, but it has a very strange language or something.
Yeah,
but that makes
sense.
That's another.
Can you imagine that language talking to 3PO? You can see why. You can see why that would.
Yeah, why can't we hear that? That's what I want to hear. Yeah. But like I said, that's the big whiteboard.
Goodness gracious me.
That's the big whiteboard at Disney.
Yeah.
They're like, we have to touch all these missions through all the times we were ever on the Falcon or ever talked to Han. Make sure we pay that service because we get one shot at this movie. And I felt like I just at the end, by that point we're talking about we're 3/4 way in the movie, and I've just felt browbeat by like, oh, we're answered. I can just write down the check boxes of everything we've checked off here, and it's like I know what you're doing.
Well, it's like what I was saying today. It's like I don't need origin stories. So like, and if you're gonna do an origin story, I'm still okay, but you don't have to answer everything.
Right. I completely agree. I would have just enjoyed a fun young Han Solo movie.
Yeah, I'm okay with you can tell me his name. That's but you're right. You don't have to.
At the end of the day, it was like there's like a list of like.
It sounds to me it's like Muppet Babies. Like, you know what we'll do? We'll make them all little kids together, and they all grew up together, and they know. And like, no, like no one's. That was always one of my complaints with the prequels. It's like, why does Anakin have to build 3PO? Like that could be independent of that, and we will get into that. But it's like that's when I don't like when everything is incorporated and integrated, and there's no serendipity in anything.
Even to the giant reveal, which we won't mention yet, at the end, in the script,
we really got to talk about that.
Yeah, we do. We do have to talk about that. Okay, well, we're going to get there. We're going to get to this. So Han doesn't win the card.
Which was fun.
Yeah, he doesn't win the game of Sabacc, so that's cool. Little twist. Han still decides to come on board for winning because he owes a shit ton of people money, just like all,
You mean Lando?
Lando, what did I say, Han?
Yeah.
Lando decides to join up anyways, partially because I think he realizes Beckett's on it and Chewie's on it. He's like, my shit's impounded, so I'm sure one of these guys can get my shit out. So they break the Falcon out of impound and fly away. So did
it have like a boot on it almost?
It did. It had a giant fucking chain on it.
Yeah.
Like of all the futuristic things to have, it's like we're just gonna
cops still do it the same way. Yeah. Like, we're putting a boot on your car.
So they have now hired Han, and that's the ship they needed from talking with Dryden Voss to go do this coaxium
fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy.
That's right. It wasn't hung of junk. Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know what Han did to that fucking ship, but that ship was pretty.
Got a lot of miles on it.
Pretty when Lando had it, because Lando is Lando. He has a.
I did like the closet full of capes.
The cape room was the best part of the ship.
Dude, Lando is like the SNL ladies' man character.
Yeah, like my cavatier.
Yeah, like that. Like everything.
It's a lady.
Like that is everything about him, and like, but the ship when he flew it away at the end, though, like it was beat the F up.
It looked like the Millennium Falcon.
True. Also, during the card game, when the flying bot pours him his drink, he still calls it. He's like, "Thanks, baby." So I think Lando's. I mean, it's not just L3. Like Lando's just like.
Well, no. Well, that's because Lando, like, they came out and said that he's pansexual and everything, and like Donald Glover like gave the best response, and he's like, "Why wouldn't I be? There's so many things to have sex with." Like,
That's fantastic. All right.
Yeah, I mean, that was the moment when L3 is like, "Oh, it works, it works." And
yeah,
like, "Who?"
Yeah, because she was like,
"How to do the math on that?"
She was like, "How would that even work?" And she's like,
"It works.
Trust me, it works." And it's like,
and with Lando, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was her talking with Kira. So yeah, it was like the girls' converation.
Well, then do you get like a whole thing from that Stallone movie where he's like not Time Cop? Demolition Man, where he's got like the headset on with Sandra Bullock. Is that how he's communicating with L3 for their sensual experiences now?
It's a VR type thing, full body VR, like Ready Player One. Did you watch Ready Player One?
I haven't. No.
Don't go see it. Don't even. You know what? Pirate it. I don't say pirate
things. Being legit.
I just Steven Spielberg. It's like having Lawrence Kasdan write something that says "lead" in it. Like it's I it would have been done better by somebody who is. Every chance I get to share that movie, I will, because it's just bad.
I have not seen it.
It is not.
I never read the book though either.
I have the book on my nightstand as well. I started it. Actually, the book's right over there.
See, people my age who like I graduated from high school in 1985. Like people my age loved Ready Player One because it was everything we did in the 80s.
It is. Well, it is. And like I read the first chapter and.
But it's fan service.
Yeah, the first chapter, I was like, okay, I get all of what they're saying, but if this is the whole book, like that's 400 pages of like, I can't.
Because I even love when when you start hearing about it, you're like, what, isn't that like the plot of The Last Starfighter? And in Ready Player One, they're like, isn't this the plot of The Last Starfighter? So they, it's very self-aware. So.
Right. And it's, well, and even hiring Spielberg to do it, he had to cut half of the shit of the book out because most of it is like the book jerking off Steven Spielberg.
Right, yeah.
Like, we can't have this.
You don't have permission to use E.T., that's my,
It's like, it would be very meta for me to have E.T. and Jaws and a Tyrannosaurus and all this.
And the Back to the Future car, and
Right, I'll give you a few. But I don't. It'd be too weird if all this happened. Okay, this will get me on a tangent of ranting.
All right, well, we'll go off that.
All right. So after our we have a calm scene getting to Kessel. You have the girl talk about with Kira and L3. You have the cape room where Kira's trying on the cape and Han comes in there and they make out a little bit and then Beckett interrupts them. You have Chewie playing chess. So we get that fan service of why he doesn't like the game, but he always has to win. I love how Beckett's like, you're gonna make that move, don't make that move. Don't make that move. You made it. Well, now my guy's gonna kill that guy.
I still look back in the same.
I like how he's like, it's a hologram.
You can't wipe the table. He tries to sweep the whole table. That was great. So this is our little bit of our break.
I thought maybe he was going to say something like, no, you got to watch out if you lose, he'll pull your arms off. Like, I thought I was waiting for a joke like that.
Right, we get that later.
Oh, I forgot.
So that's just on the whiteboard. We're just going to reference the whiteboard all day. Right. It's the whole whiteboard thing. All right, so Kessel. Let's talk to Kessel. So this is still the same scene. We had the quiet scene. Now we get to Kessel. They sneak their way in. They play as Kira plays. She puts on one of Lando's capes and plays some. I love that her title was so long that they were like, I don't know, sure, you're that person,
right? But
that was exactly what it was put there for. Han and Chewie are in chains, and they're trading them for some of their spice. So that's what they first call it, the spice there. The people that run that spice mine, they're actually from the people on Kessel. I think that we first saw them. I watched or read somewhere they were on one of the animated series, but they're canon too.
Gotcha.
So, what happens here? They take everybody. I know it's such.
Again, I'm so glad you can, because I'm like,
that's my whole point here. If I could just tell a better story, we'd be set. Right now, it's me umming through a whole bunch of stuff. So they all go to so the one place they're going to discuss things is like in their main room. So it's like the control room. So you have L3 follows her. Beckett is wearing the armor that Han wore in Return of the Jedi. If you caught that, right? Beckett, the stuff with when they went to break out. Oh wait, no, is that what? Yeah. It's what Lando was wearing.
At the very beginning of Jedi when they go into Jabba's palace. Yeah, the thing that comes down with the helmet with a weird thing over the mouth.
Beckett's wearing that one.
Yeah.
L3's there, and Kira is there, taken into the head guy's office. They leave L3 and they leave Beckett out in the main area where all of the surveillance stuff is. And Han and Chewie are taken into the pits somewhere on an elevator.
I'm like, oh, right, yeah.
It's like it was so long ago.
I could never have described this. Yeah, I went opening day and I was pretty pleased with myself in that, but it's already gone.
Yeah, there's certain parts that watching it last night, I was like, I didn't remember that. Or now I had a chance to analyze stuff because all I remember was oh, the action stuff was awesome. That's a 30-second podcast. That's not how this works. By the way, the sidetrack because we love these. I labeled our original podcast as our mega episode, which is 2 hours and 10 minutes long. We've recorded a 2 hour and 45-minute one since then on Westworld or something else. Good. So I was like, oh, this is piece of cake, mega episode my ass. And this one's all I'm not gonna cut this down. It's gonna be from when I start to when I stop. It's gonna be it. This is the best part. I wish he came to my house all the time. This post is a bitch, but you gotta. Anyways, all right. So their plan kicks off.
Staring at him now, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, creepily. It's weird. It's weird in person. We should not stare at each other.
They look like they're playing Sabacc here, everybody.
Not nearly as cool. And not with near sexual juices.
What was
dripping.
great about that too is like they're laying down the cards and you have no freaking clue what they're throwing down. You're just like, oh, like you even know what that was. Like we're all like we know it's a good. Is it
Yeah, the green one.
Yeah,
Squiggly line, a tornado-looking thing.
Exactly.
Oh shit, that looks bad.
Look out, he's got the 5 of slashes. Yeah, it was like a little bit. You're like totally into it, and then you put something in, you're like, oh, is that good? I don't know.
Is he supposed to have the green card? What happened there? Yeah. Their plan kicks off. Kira kills she kills the leader guy in his office. The form of martial arts she mentions because L3 goes in with her. Do you remember what martial arts she said? I don't remember the name of it. It's a Sith martial art.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and so I believe it's a Sith. It's something that was supposed to, if you knew certain canon
if you're an
stuff,
extended universe person.
I think it may have been. Actually, I think it was extended universe.
I'm sure it is.
And she said it. We'd all be like, "Oh, that's a Sith thing." So that should have kind of thrown a few things at us. But I like how L3's like, "Whoa!"
Now, do you remember too? There was a throwaway reference to Boss.
That was way back with Val.
I forgot
said,
where that was, but they talked about getting Boss, and I was like, Boss is great.
Val, that was one of Val's options.
What about
instead of using these two
Dengar
guys.
and his bandaged head?
So another whiteboard fan. Hey, let's throw in Boss name. The weird lizard.
I need
name.
IG-88 bounty hunting with his young son at this point. So.
Yeah, that's the android one from the
figure that never stood up on his own. You had to peg him. He would fall down all the time.
And all from one scene with Vader, where they're all standing across the
right,
and all you see is
bounty hunter
Bosk and IG-88,
Dengar,
and then Boba Fett's there, and that's all you ever see of them.
And when you're 13, you could name all of them because there was an action figure for each.
Of course,
of them, and I had them all.
Nice.
Right. It's because George Lucas knew what he was doing when it came to marketing.
He can thank me for building Skywalker Ranch.
That's my brick.
That's right. I had 7 stormtroopers.
So during the breakout, or during their heist, so this is where Han and Chewie are taken to an elevator. So you have a Wookiee and them stuck with 2 just regular guards. And this is where you get the arms tearing off scene. Off screen, but this may be one of the, I would say this is probably one of the left in. I think every joke is probably left in. So it's probably from the original shoot, but he's like, thanks, that was the one that was going to fit me. Like, that was going to be the uniform that would fit
okay.
me.
Yeah. Gotcha. I don't know that I clicked that he'd ripped the arms off. I think
he was holding arms. And Chewie was like, what do I do with these?
I shouldn't be going to films, I guess.
It was a lot to take in.
Right, that part went past me. I missed that.
That's where the guy's
I got the
off.
joke about it didn't fit, but I didn't get the arms joke.
Let's see. So what happens next? He goes to get, they start loading on the way to go to the coaxium location area in the mine tunnels, Chewie sees some other Wookiees. So by the way, one of those Wookiees, in fact, the Wookiee that you saw over and over again, do you know who played that one? Anthony Daniels.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Anthony Daniels plays one of the Wookiees. I think it's the one that got the most screen time. I think it was actually female, maybe. He had a weirder face.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember that. Okay,
that was Anthony. So that Wookiee was Anthony Daniels, as far as I know.
That was supposed to be like another. He was from a neighboring Wookiee village that Chewbacca knew, and he was actually skinny like that because he was malnourished from working so much in the mines and shit.
Right, so like all his hair from his face.
So that's why he was like looked so beat up. And
they did look.
So here's my question on Chewbacca, and I'm sure that again somebody who's versed in this and EU could probably tell me more because I was like, and this will get to the other big reveal, but I have timeline issues here.
Okay, so go.
So it was established in the prequels that Chewbacca fought alongside the Alliance,
Yoda,
and with Yoda,
right?
Which. So, like, he clearly knew everything that was going on, and, like, he'd been involved. So, like, where does this one... did that all happen before he ended up in that pit? So this one I see somebody was trying to say is 10 years before... I'm going to have to say A New Hope, as much as I hate to say
You can't
that,
say New Hope. You're not allowed
episode
to. You don't
4,
like saying it.
Star
You say Star Wars.
I say
correct.
Star Wars. So it's supposed to be... What I saw, it was 10 years before Star Wars, and then, like, the prequels end...
20 years before or something.
So I guess you'd have to just say, well, something happened between the end of Sith and the beginning of this one.
So the battle that you're talking about, that was on Kashyyyk.
It was on Kashyyyk, right.
And they won.
Right. But Chewbacca's been, like, kicking around in warfare for forever.
Well, they mentioned somewhere in Solo that at some point the Empire had taken Kashyyyk and
enslaved
enslaved a whole bunch of them. So
All
it may
right.
have happened after.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
I'm guessing. I do know there's a line at some point where they mentioned
I was
it.
really struggling timeline-wise at one point in here, so.
Yeah, it's like, please, just can you get... Yeah, before the movie starts, instead of the crawl, which we didn't give, they don't do for these ones anyways, like, just give me a timeline.
Right.
Like, just this
Like, like a mall map, and it just has all of the movies, and it's like, you are here.
You have
yes.
the timeline going, and then you stop, and like the bullet point comes.
Yep.
Battle of Endor.
Put yourself right here, yeah, before Endor, after Endor. Is
Yeah, leave 2 major events that everyone will know, even
Yeah.
like newbies will be like,
That's right. I need a post.
Yep, okay,
I need
okay.
a post. So, all right, I guess that makes sense.
So Chewie heads off to free his brethren, his
That's a nice moment where Han says, "See you around." Like Han lets him go.
He's like, wait, here, take this. Those are one of them shocker staffs, and
Right.
like, I hope to see you around sometime.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was great.
Nice moment.
They built their relationship, I thought, very well in this movie. It was not. I didn't feel like it was contrived. I didn't feel like it was.
And Chewie was never a pet. He was never he was always a partner.
Always an equal.
Yep.
How Han thought he could even take him? Like you said, why didn't he start talking earlier? Because honestly, he can tear arms off in a half second. So why are you trying to like fight him in the pit? Like I was like, why did it take you that long? I completely get what you said earlier. So Han goes to start loading up the coaxium, which of course is horribly heavy, and he has to load like 12 of them. So that's your joke of like, okay, 11 more. He's like, fuck. Okay, so that all gets loaded, and he's pushing it out as and everything's going right. L3 is inside her rebellion, so I like how the one droid's like freedom and like hits the red button, it turns green, like all the slaves' collars drop off, and they're all beaten, guards with shovels, and they're all running around.
Yub nub.
Yeah, I like how the rebellion though was like just a Looney Tune event happening in the control house, and like just bots and everything were just walking all over like buttons. Dude, I'm going like, well, some of those got to be like fail-safe devices, man. Like there should be like
up.
turrets coming down, like flamethrowers going through the tunnels right now, and like where were all the breakout?
That's pretty lax security, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right, someone just cut the cable off. Like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Why is
Internet's off. Yeah.
So on their way out. Oh, well, first, so Han's pushing this giant cart full of coaxium that he can hardly get. How they thought I guess they thought he was going to have Chewie. But Chewie shows back up with his crew, and they push it all out towards the Falcon. And it's another, great battle. Like, people getting annihilated. Like, we're not holding back blowing people up in this movie, which I give them the realistic aspect.
Well, it's because you don't have any stormtroopers on there, so everybody
everybody
has got a hit marker on both sides of the field now.
And you're not wearing armor that can deflect shots the way stormtrooper armor does.
He's rolling his eyes because he can't see this.
They're literally crawling up the stairs as we speak now.
Thank God they didn't have. They should have had armor on. Stop all those blasts.
So they load the coaxium in the Falcon. All the Wookiees do. They try to get Chewie to go with them, and he's like, no, I got to go with this guy. I do like how Kira gets like her one moment where she rushes out and like chucks grenades.
Yeah, that was cool.
And during the escape, L3 gets hit bad, like taken down hard, and Lando just like loses it, runs after her, hurdling over stuff, diving all over the place. Way to go, Donald Glover. And goes to grab her, and it's almost like the scene, not quite like it, but Saving Private Ryan, like the Omaha Beach one, where the guy's like carrying his own arm. Like he goes to pick her up, and like only half of her comes with him, and like you can see like I would love to have seen like the call sheet that day where he's like, you gotta show this emotion for this metal thing, Mr. Glover, and like he did a good job.
And most of it's not there.
Yeah, most of it's not there. Yeah, you have maybe the head and the body on the Falcon. He's holding it.
Yeah, he just sat there before both scenes and just like pinched the inside of his thigh skin like really, really hard before it started, just so he could like build up carrying some green foam dangled thing.
Right. That's gotta be the hard.
He did,
but it worked.
Yeah, it was believable.
It was.
His anguish on her.
Yeah, no, you did a nice you did a nice job.
Yep, and so Kira chucks a couple of grenades, gets them out of there. He's cradling, because he's cradling L3. They're like, we need to get out of here. And so Han looks at him. He's like, go ahead. And Han's like, I get to fucking
fly the ship.
And this is the first time Han gets to fly the Falcon.
And there's a great moment when he and Chewbacca slide into their appropriate seats
together.
Because they held off on that.
Before that, yeah, Kira, he's like, have a seat, and it's Kira, and Chewie sits down behind her, and something happens, and he's like, we deflect your shields, and she's like,
well, yeah, because he goes like, start her up. and like they go to like take off, and she's like, I don't.
It's different. They get attacked, and he's like, "Can you put the deflector shields to the rear?" And she's like, "Yes, we should do that." And Chewie's like, "Bitch!" And he goes up and clicks them all, and then she's like, "Sit down, Chewie." And then you get Chewie sat down. That was a really cool scene. I like that. So now this is where...
And you get you even got the callbacks musically with those, which is kind of nice.
There's a lot of musical callbacks, which we will also get to later on, because there are a few things that are prequel that I think are some of the greatest things in Star Wars lore, and most of it's the music. Most of it, yeah. So anyways, all right, so where are we? We are escaping. We are on the
making the Kessel Run now.
We are making the Kessel Run, and there's an Imperial blockade in their normal path out. Not to mention they needed to... I wonder.
They have a time limit.
Right, there's a time limit, and something had happened that they needed to cut some. They weren't going to make it going the normal route anyway.
Right, there was not enough time doing the normal route because they had a certain amount of time to process it, or it would, in its pure form, would explode. So they had only a certain amount of time, and there wasn't enough time to go the regular parsec route.
Right, so they
had to find a shortcut.
They run into Imperial blockade, and Han's like, I was these guys. They're not going to waste a TIE fighter on a rinky-dink, barge, and they drop like 5 out of it. And he's like, well, shit. Okay, so they cut into... So to describe like the Kessel Run, it's like a space tunnel of cloud. Like it's a dark, like gray, like tunnel that they're going through, and then like he just juts through one of the walls and just
was kind of weird.
It was wild, and then outside of that.
Why didn't anybody ever take that shortcut before?
Well,
it was fairly obvious.
As soon as he came through, though, it was like asteroids and all kinds of shit. And the only reason that Han is because Han's the greatest pilot in all the galaxy. Couldn't get through that.
That's Anakin Skywalker, who was the greatest pilot in all the galaxy.
Well, is he?
Just ask him. Everybody's the greatest pilot,
right?
Everybody's always the greatest pilot.
I did like how he flipped. He flipped the Falcon to whack that one TIE fighter into the wall. I was like, well, that's cool. And like the whole time as like Lando's like cradling him, he's like, what is happening to my ship?
And I did love Woody Harrelson in the gun pit.
I wrote that somewhere.
Are we to that part?
We are, actually.
I love that.
I just asked, does everyone who gets on the gun go woo? Like everybody who's ever been that gun, their first shot, they're like, woo! You're like, yes!
Well, what I loved about it is
I've never felt so much power.
what I loved about it is they did, like, because in the original Star Wars, when they first sit in those gun pits, like the way the seats are moving, it must have been the way it was actually built. It's like, it's really herky-jerky. Mm-hmm. And in the later movies, they fixed that. But in this one, it was still that herky-jerky movement. Like, they went right back to that really old, like, you're like, how does anybody do anything
probably
with
took,
this?
like a Bronco bull, like
that's
thing, and they stuck a chair a chair on it, and like
it's really hard to move, and they clean that up later. But this one, it's back to that old. So it's no wonder he's like, man, my thumbs.
Yeah, to that point, Beckett, when he gets in, he's like, I'm getting the hang of this. Like, I'll get it here in a second. But yeah, and then when he loses the can, he's like, I hurt my thumb.
Yeah, so that was really great actually, because I was like, I think I'd be the same. I would just be laying on the buttons the whole time too.
So they're making the Kessel Run. The Maelstrom, they're like, what is number one, they're like, we're nearing the Maelstrom. Like, what is the Maelstrom? And then like, so it's the whole, it's the standard trope from Star Wars. It's the big eye. Right. Like the Maelstrom is the black hole. We'll get there in a minute. But like when everything's dark and you can't see out of the ship, when the lights come back on, there's just going to be a big fucking eye in front of you, which happens way more than it should in the thing. But there it is, and it's this giant squid I did like how it was not just a big eye, but it was a fucking shit ton of big eyes as they kept moving down the creature to get away from it. And so it chases them. This is when they fire the escape pod, which is where the fork was at the front. They fire it to distract or to hope that it goes after it. At which that point the squid monster space vacuum. They actually mentioned maybe there could be vacuum breathing things out here. So it's like, oh, so we're gonna run into something out of this crap.
Chekhov's gun.
Yeah, that thing was basically like the Bermuda Triangle. Mm-hmm. It's like when it was on a map, all you saw was like sea serpents, and they're like, space vacuum guy, tentacle creature.
My question, as the tentacle creature, why would you have your home? So why would you choose the place that you hang out in, or that close to a black hole? Like where if you just got a little distracted, you're getting sucked into that son of a bitch.
Right, like, because that thing, like, seemed like it
just lived there.
Like, that was home, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm chilling. And, like, that like, black hole was like, he's just, not today, black hole. Like,
maybe it was the best hunting ground, because I think it was going to get sucked toward it, so you could, like, pick stuff off as it got sucked into it.
Yeah, that's true. And so it goes after the escape pod, and then, like, It dies pretty horribly.
It did.
Poor big
did
creature.
you see people? I guess they have said that it was intentionally supposed to look like Toad's melting face from.
Oh, it was just more
Raiders of the
just
Lost
like
Ark.
this. I mean, it was just it got its skin first. Like it just pulled the skin off his face first into the black hole, then the rest of the skeleton. But yeah, I didn't get the Raiders. Raiders.
No, I didn't come up with that. I read that someplace. That it was actually intentional.
Somebody's writing. Somebody's fishing.
That it was fanfic. Yeah, it was supposedly intentional.
Somebody hit pause and lit the bong. And popped
like,
the
yeah,
pill.
sure.
They're like,
We'll go with
"See
that guy. So and then of course another Star Wars Millennium Falcon trope is they have Beckett. They're like, we can't just put raw coaxium into the whatever flux capacitor. Like we can put a drop into the whatever, and we can hopefully boost some other imaginary thing and get us in, because they were not making it. They were doing that thing where like in Star Trek, like we're at
Technobabble.
warp. We're at warp, but we're not going anywhere because we're getting sucked back as fast as we're going forward. So they're just kind of chilling there. They can't break free. Anything happens, they're getting sucked in. So they hit it. They have the whole Beckett runs back there in the last second. I'm counting you down because they had this like. I don't know what, and this is the other thing, like that whole like rock formation that was like coming together. I don't even know what that was.
Yeah.
It was more of that like from
Empire with the mouth.
Yeah, I mean, yes, like
The space slug.
like we don't need the Falcon doing this every time. Like we know you can do it. Like it's God damn it, you just maybe something new, anything.
Except in that one, like R2 had to turn the so they could go.
Yeah, right. So Beckett pushes it, and like they go to hit it, and it like it's kind of like the hey punch it Chewie, and then like it just the engine stalls out, and you're like oh damn, and then like it kicks back in, and they hit their warp, so they're good. They make it. I do like how when they were coming into the planet that was doing the processing, he's like. This is the Millennium Falcon. We're coming in. Like, we're right here, right now. Like, and the guy's, like, starting up on, like, a Morse code style thing, like, to, like, reference it to everybody else in the camp. And they're like, no, we're here. And, like, he just, like, drops the Falcon. And they just start, and they unload everything perfectly fine. And they make it perfectly, everything's good.
Each canister's blinking red, you know, and the guy just grabs them and
Throws
sling.
them in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like picking
so
up your
what
luggage
the
at the
fuck
airport.
with, like, that reminded me of, like, one of those... like intercom things that they build in the park playgrounds, you know, like, you know, your kid goes to one end and it's
Holler
like a
at the
big
other end.
horn and you holler. Like the guy just grabbed him and was like, oh, like there was
Shove it
no
in.
subtlety. Like they're like, oh, hey, got 6 seconds, cool, dude, we're good. Just throws it in there, you know, no big deal.
Right, we were.
Oh, you made it the
every
time
day.
limit. Yeah. You got it in time.
And then then you had to get it out and then drown. So it wasn't as close as you thought it was going to be, but it took the time to get it. But yeah, so that everything's back, everything's nice and calm. They go to collect the process coaxium up the hill where this like random. You know, we're on a desert planet now, of course. So got to hit all the type of planets throughout each movie. So you're the desert, you know, and so it's like everything's broken down and it's all just like shacks and huts and they go up to
Nothing
collect
nice
it.
can ever be in a desert.
Right. I like how Beckett walks into the bartender. He's like, "I hear you make great brandy." It's like that's random, but okay. Does that mean? And then at that point, I'm like, "So what does that mean now? Like, what is that from canon? Because you've been beating you over the head with canon stuff for the last 2 hours. Like, what is this talking about?" So this is the big Enfys Nest reveal, and I say reveal in the two dads air quotes because she pulls her helmet off and she's noticeably a child and B like mixed race, like white and black. She's got freckles, but she's noticeably African American. And I'm like, are you? And the way it was between Beckett and her, I was like, are you like Beckett and Val?
I was the same way.
And they paused so long.
Because I was like, are we supposed to know who that is?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I had like for a second, when she put it on, I was like, oh, wait, I don't know who that is.
Right, and guess what? She's nobody. She is just the person in charge of this. And then
Because it was a very dramatic reveal. Yeah.
Like you're supposed to be like, oh, here we are.
Because I was like, is this going to be Boba Fett? Like the guy that played Boba? I was like, that's what I was waiting for. Someday I was supposed to know.
Right. And by the way,
this was them just going to like, look at one of the perfect people. Here's your new actress. Like,
yeah, it was a very like dramatic, cool reveal. And again, it was enough that I was convinced for a split second. Like, I know that. I don't know that.
Right. Also, before this, Han tries to bluff them with she tries to bluff them with, you know, at the snap of my fingers, I can have my whole security squad down the Falcon down there, and like Lando takes off. Yeah, you're like, and that at that point, like his like lesser acting chops, it was a little bit like, it didn't fall well for me at the very end of that like joke. Like it would, so you have the Enfys reveal. You learn that she's like started this rebellion, even though she doesn't. I don't think she calls it a rebellion. They're just freedom fighter type people. But it's of course everything is intertwined. It's the beginning of all of this.
Right. Mm-hmm. Which again, we already knew that Chewie was fighting in it 10 years earlier, so it's still a continuation of all that.
And they take a really long time to get these things together. We also get a Warwick Davis. He's in there. He's in her crew. Willow.
Oh yeah.
We get him. That was nice.
Because he was also.
He was in
Well, who was he in the other movie?
He was in Willow.
Well, no,
he was
in Last Jedi.
In Star Wars, because he's basically like.
He's also like a.
Yeah, he was in one. I can't remember who it was. I have his memoirs.
Nice.
Like a book?
Yeah. It's called Size Matters Not. Come on.
Nice title.
It's a fun book. There it is. Warwick Davis.
Woodblin? But he was in Last Jedi. I don't know that name.
Because is he the same character in this one?
No.
No, God, no. That's like, I mean, I guess, I don't think so. Did he have makeup on? Did he have like prosthetics on for the other movie too?
I don't remember.
This one
I just remember he was in both of them.
Yeah, I think he's been in it because, he played the main Ewok.
Yeah, he was Wicked.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So he's also one of those. Can we get him in here? Good. He can be in the movie again too. They go to him.
And Ron Howard just used him. So
yes, because Ron Howard did Willow.
Willow.
Right. God, what a crap. I haven't watched that movie in so long. I need to though.
Willow holds up. It's not bad.
It does hold up.
Yeah.
It absolutely does.
That's another one I equate Willow with like Dark Crystal for Jim Henson. Like those guys were right about those movies at the wrong time. Like people love them now, and they actually kind of hold up.
Yeah, dude, any of those fantasy things can always fantasy.
Yeah, Labyrinth, huge.
Yeah, the best thing about fantasy is that the problem with sci-fi is at some point technology is going to catch up and your shit's going to look old like original Star Trek. It's like
when they have the rolling numbers and
right. Like we don't need we have better than that now. Yeah. But with fantasy, you've got it can never be matched.
Right.
So it's always gonna, and especially so at some point, it's going to be the greatest thing ever. And Willow is great. Val Kilmer in his prime, like before we might knew who Val Kilmer was, pretty much. Like before, he played in Tombstone, which is one of my favorite movies that he's ever been in.
Or Jim Morrison.
Right. And was it called Doors?
The
was
Doors,
it called
yeah.
Doors? The Doors?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was an Oliver Stone film, wasn't it?
It was.
Useless knowledge.
That's fine.
And he sang his own part.
He did.
Right. Yeah. He did.
Speaking of singing parts, have you seen the trailer for Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yes.
With the guy.
I'm psyched.
I am super psyched.
That looks great.
Yeah. We'll be reviewing that one. You want to come on the podcast?
Yeah, I think that one looks fantastic. I'm all in on that.
Joaquin Phoenix sang his own parts in Walk the Line.
It was great.
Where are we going?
I don't know. Hey, just thinking of people that can fucking sing.
That
all the girls from all the people in Pitch Perfect.
No shit.
No, but they all had to audition for it. It wasn't. They weren't like, oh, hey, I want you. I'm going to train you.
I think Joaquin Phoenix should have won the Oscar for that, and I think the reason he didn't is because the year before it had gone to Jamie Foxx, who had also
sung and
played another part, played another singer, had done his own part.
Oh, and Ray, yeah.
And Ray, but it's like Joaquin's actually doing his own thing and Jamie Foxx is awesome in it, but he's doing a Ray Charles impression.
Mm-hmm. Very good Ray Charles impression.
An awesome Ray Charles impression. he deserved the Oscar again, but Joaquin's doing something a little different and was fantastic. But I think the fact that Ray had won the year before actually hurt him.
When has Joaquin never done anything a little weird, a little different?
Yeah. I remember Jamie Foxx telling the story about Ray Charles teaching him, the piano songs and stuff like that, and Jamie Foxx obviously has a little experience in the piano, and he goes, you're sitting there in Ray Charles, and I'm acting like Ray Charles as I'm doing this, and then I'll hit the wrong key, and he goes, and then he goes, I don't mean to sound rude, because I got a blind man looking at me going, you can't see the keys, and giving me shit about not being able to see the keys, and he's like, I kind of wanted to defend myself, but blind jokes are off limits,
There's a line I can't cross.
Yeah. That was Eddie Murphy's jokes about Stevie. You want to impress me, Stevie? Reach over here and take the wheel.
Yeah.
All right. Where are we? We've revealed Enfys Nest. We revealed Warwick Davis, which is really important. We get another side scene where Beckett mentions a gangster on Tattoo. Wait, no.
He even says one of the huts, doesn't he?
I don't think he says hut. I think he always references a gangster.
Tatooine.
Yeah, on Tatooine. Yeah.
They actually reference him several times.
Yeah, he does. Well, at the very end, Han references the Chewie. That's literally where they head next in there. That's how they get into that.
That's going to be their Magnificent Seven story, I think.
Right. Very true.
So he's referenced John, and then there's the great fight.
Oh, the big fight.
It's
Yeah.
a good
So
fight.
they.
It's a good fight.
How does so they know Han's like, I can't give Dryden the coaxium. He's like, I can't.
He
do
wants
it.
to give it to the rebellion.
Right, but that's not his. Yeah, we'll get to that part a little bit too. But so they had this whole plan that we don't get to hear. Like this is the whole like plan we don't get to hear. So he shows up. Beckett says he can't do it. Beckett's like, I can't be this. I'm gonna, that's when he mentions the gangster on Tatooine, and they've split ways. Or so Han thinks. So Han and Kira and Chewie show up at Dryden Voss's office. Dryden's like, "Where's?" I love how he like always kept showing like, "What happened to Beckett? Oh, he did. He got." He's like, "Oh, are you okay?" Like I love it. And we didn't even mention it before. So Dryden Voss is not human.
Yeah, he's an alien.
He's an alien, and when he gets mad, like his tiger stripes show up on his face.
Yeah,
I loved that about his character. Like anytime he got. He was a giant walking mood ring, is what he was.
Yeah, pretty much. That's why like those scars got inflamed and like glue kind of red.
Yeah, and what was cool is like I liked it. It wasn't always when he was like screaming at somebody. Like he would be saying a thin line, like just like a normal speaking voice line, and like his shit would go red. So you knew that like inside he was like fucking furious, and that's kind of cool. I thought that was kind of cool.
No, baby, I'm playing it cool.
Everything's fine. You're like fucking
just fucking glowing red,
So the ruse happens. Chewie's bringing in, because Chewie's carrying this giant thing because it's heavy as shit. Voss has called Kira over to his side to sit down, and he's like, "Show me what show it to me." He's like, "Wait, I mean to pull it out here?" Like Han's like, "I don't." He's like, "No, show it." So he opens it up and he pulls out one of the whole things of coaxium and hands it over to him. Like he's like, "This stuff's real dangerous. Like, you want to be messing with this stuff? Do you don't want to drop it?" I mean, it's the nitro thing, like we were talking about. So he hands it to Dryden Voss, and he's like,
or the Rock. Here's our poisonous agent.
Right, our giant green balls of poisonous shit. Don't drop this, but let's put it in glass.
And they're all individually hooked by one tiny little thread. They kind of walk.
They jiggle the shit ton. Right. So Dryden's like, this looks really great. How'd you do it? It almost looks real. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, because I know that you this isn't the real stuff. You didn't bring it here. And then, because someone told me, and Han immediately thinks it's Kira. He's like, well, how could you fucking betray me? I love you, whatever. And we find out it's actually Beckett. Who has turned on him. And
Which was kind of a bummer. I was kind of bummed by that.
But he told you never to trust anybody.
He did say that very early, and I even at that time picked up on that.
You're like,
but I was still bummed about it.
You got me, Beckett. You told me back then.
Still bummed. I wasn't shocked.
But you made my gun.
Doesn't mean it hurts any less.
That's right. That's right.
I do so the reveal was the fact that it was the real coaxium, and that Han had played Beckett because he knew he was going to turn on him. And I like how Beckett just wasted all the guards in the room. He's like, I like to be the only guy. I had to think. I like the only guy hold a blaster while I do it. So I kill all the guy with blasters. Chewie, grab the stuff. We're out of here. So Beckett has thought he has taken off with it. And then you get a big fight that ensues between Han and Dryden Voss. I like how he's like, Voss is like, let's team up together and go after Beckett. He's like, sure, you go first to the door. And so during it, Kira jumps in the fray with one of the swords that the guards had, I guess, or off the table of.
I think it was off the table.
Off the Indiana Jones table. Who knows where it came from? But she downs Solo. She downs Han and is prepared to kill him. And Dryden comes up behind her, and she turns on him, and they have a big fight. At which point she, with his like lightsaber knives, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, is that using the crystals that I don't know what those were, but he liked them a lot. He liked them a lot. So she at the end of the fight disarms him and kills Dryden Voss. So now they are free. She's like, okay, Han, go catch up with Chewie, go save Chewie. I'll wrap up stuff here. Thank you very much. I'll be right behind you. And so she picks up. So Han takes off, thinking like, yeah, we're gonna go get my ship. We're gonna go off with the stars. Happy ending. Everything's gonna be fine. So she picks up Dryden's ring that he had on his finger, the one that has the symbol that she has tattooed in her arm, and she makes a Skype call. She closes the blinds to keep, so there's no, sun flares or anything on the reception, and you get this reveal. Now they show you. Now I knew this because I've watched a tiny bit of the the animated series, when I saw the metal leg,
Yeah.
I was like, I know who that is. Like, for once, I fucking know first. Like, because I knew it took some folks a little bit to figure it out. But that's the metal leg. I was like, that's Maul.
See, I had to read all that later because I was
Yeah.
like, what the hell?
Right.
Yeah, I had to.
Did you even know that he was alive?
No.
Yeah, there's a whole
Because
plot.
that was when I was really confused timeline wise. I was like, so this is like during
basically the
Revenge of
animated series is pretty much
Between-
a lot of Maul's like storyline of how he goes from Darth Maul to Maul and
Yeah, because when I saw, so I was like, so this is going on at the same time Liam Neeson is training, but like that's where I was completely confused at that point because I didn't know
Because
any of
in
that
the
stuff.
Star Wars universe, when you fall down a tunnel,
Absolutely.
you never really die.
You get sucked into the side, even if your hand's cut off, so you can dangle off the bottom of the city. Or
Right, because the place you land automatically opens up and drops you down at the bottom. Exactly. So yeah, so the big reveal is Darth Maul is running Crimson Dawn, who we haven't mentioned, but Crimson Dawn is the big
ring.
bad organization. Yeah, that's the the underbelly of the
mafia.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So Maul is running. Darth Maul is running. I'm not sure. I think he's actually listed as Maul in the credits, so he's not even.
right.
See, he still has his powers, but he's not Sith. He's not anything. He's his own. He's his own man.
Yeah, well, that's why it's just called Maul now. It's because he's
Right.
not as.
But there's a whole like,
He's not a Sith anymore.
and the animated series of what I've seen of it, what I know of it, I know more than I've seen of it. I just don't have time to watch. There's like 7 seasons.
There's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like it's for kids, but people die in it all the time. And like his whole plot where because he didn't start with legs, like Lieutenant,
Right.
like it wasn't like Lieutenant Dan like straight up with legs. Like he started with like spider legs.
Right.
Like it was some
head runs
crazy
a spider.
shit. It was crazy. And he finally got legs later on. And his brother, oh shit, I knew I'd blank on it. Savage. Someone's just hate tweet me. It's fine. I'll figure it out when the mic turns off. But his brother, like the whole plot line with his brother who has like black and yellow face. It's crazy. Savage Okra, but not like okra, like it's something like that.
Anyway, I had to go look all of
Yeah,
that up
there's
and
a
read it,
whole-
'cause I'm not well versed enough on that.
Which one of the crazy things about the fan base is like just give them what they want, because what they want is an Ashoka movie.
Right.
Like they want her
That's
live
what's
action.
astounding me that so many fans are shitting on it. Like it gave them everything they want.
If this sets up a movie that involves her, because this is the same timeline in the general idea timeline that Ashoka, because Ashoka, do you know who that is? Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's a
Anybody
town
who
in
doesn't know,
town in
it's
North Carolina.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. She's Anakin's Padawan.
Yeah.
So she learned from him, and everyone who's followed that storyline loves her, and they want her in a live action so bad they can taste it.
Everybody wanted Mara Jade too, but they didn't get that.
No, well, that's not canon anymore, right?
Not anymore.
Because Mara Jade is who? Luke's wife? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, Luke's wife. See, I got a little bit, just a tiny bit of the extended of the.
She was
the
a bounty
legacy.
hunter first, and then
Right. So that's called what now? The Legacy Universe or the?
don't know.
There's like some sort of term for like all the books.
the pocket.
Yeah, they did
universe.
the same
Yeah.
thing like the church did. They're like, here's the Old Testament.
Right.
Here's the New Testament.
All for this one first.
yeah.
Just reference this when it matters.
And see, like all this stuff in Solo. I mean, this is Lucas at one point was talking about doing a TV series, which now Jonathan Favreau is doing, but it was going to be called Star Wars Underworld. That was going to be like all this gangster shit going on. So like all the stuff that they're sort of introducing in this was, I mean, kind of consistent with what he wanted to do.
I'm minorly super excited about this live action TV show because the one thing, and this is, I hate to keep bringing Star Trek up during Star Wars talk, but the one thing that's always separated them is that Star Wars always owned the movies, and Star Trek always owned the television. There was never the two could compare,
Right?
Because the Star Trek movies, while okay, aren't to anything towards the level of the Star Wars movies, and vice versa for the TV shows. I'm really excited about this because of where we are in technology and the way that things are shot these days.
Yeah.
Like it could be, and the way that just get off the fucking Skywalker bloodline. Like that's not the only bloodline in this giant thing you've created it. Like show me everything. I think, and putting Jon Favreau in charge of it, it was not a stupid idea.
Right.
He has not touched very many bad things in his life.
Yeah. So that's why I think if they could even stick to kind of that idea, like let's follow the drug wars, as it were, with all the gangsters, and so I mean that's kind of what they were setting up in this, which is pretty cool.
Just don't put it on CBS All Access. Just for God's sake, don't put it on something I have to. They'll put it. Watch them put it on. This is how they launch their Disney's, because you know Disney's doing their own Netflix.
I was about to say, dude, if anything, it's going to be out on Disney.
It'll be on Disney's streaming.
Probably will. I was
Streaming
gonna say, put them on
service.
Netflix so they all drop at one time, so you can like watch all 13 of them at one time.
Yeah, let's do CBS All Access's way, dropping it once a week and not having the bandwidth for the people who are all going to tune in at 8 o'clock to watch it on Sunday nights, and then hate tweet for like a fucking hour while it's buffering. Yeah, that's
and then have your friend who watches the next day go, I don't see what the problem was, man.
Mine worked just fine
with my account and my login that I'm paying for, fucker. All right, so let's see. Mall reveal, we're good. You got anything else you want to touch on?
Nope,
the mall reveal?
Okay, so I was very confused by it.
So Han catches up to Beckett and Chewie. And there's a standoff. And once again, the giant Disney whiteboard and any fandom question, Han shoots first without hesitation. Because he knew... But he had watched Beckett. We didn't even mention this. Woody Harrelson's gunplay in this movie...
Awesome.
On point.
Awesome.
Just twirling guns like Western style. Like even Westerners don't even Westerns. You don't twirl it till you're done killing people. He's doing it in the middle of killing people.
Yeah,
like on the battlefield in like World War I style battle. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, there was a couple of times where they showed that like kind of silhouette-ish scene of him where he's like up on the hill right there, you know, and like bow bow, and like he's spinning. And I'm going dead.
Yeah.
Like
it, like some of the ways those were set up was like very Sergio Leone, like a really like cool silhouette shots.
Oh yeah,
it was awesome. And notice, like, I mean, you got some cool like gun passing between Han and Lando, but like
we didn't even mention that.
But Han doesn't ever do the like even through none of he never does the gun flips in any of his in the Star Wars. So like he didn't do any of that weird fancy.
He did it one time when he was coming down the stairs in the movie, like, and he was, I think it was when he was undercover or whatever, and like a guy kind of like looked at him because he does a flip, and he was like, I can do that
in this movie.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, 'cause I don't think he does it in any of the other ones.
No, but I don't remember, and I saw it last night.
Like he's a great shot. Like he's a great
shot,
shot, but he doesn't do any of the fancy stuff. But you do have the wicked gun pass that he and Lando do.
Yeah, Lando comes out with both guns, and this is after. No, this is before L3 gets hit.
It says they're leaving Kessel.
Yeah, before L3 gets hit, he's out there just trying to secure the landing area where they're trying to load the stuff up, and he tosses. That was a pretty sweet shot.
Cool toss. Yeah,
very cool toss. I wonder how much of that was real, how much of that was like CG. Like, did you throw a fake gun? They CG'd that gun in your hand. Did you guys do that for real? Because that was nice. Because it was nice. It was because it was all one shot, no cut. It was like, Lando and follow the gun, and it's in Han. It was like nice.
But Woody Harrelson with his gunplay, pretty awesome. So I'm hoping he was really doing that too, and that there's no CGI there.
Because absolutely
pretty.
Yeah, there's gonna just be like video of him just sitting at home, like twirling a gun around, like having fun with it.
Playing his bongos in his underwear.
Yeah,
and then
he was always his goal.
Willie Nelson.
One of my gripes that I mentioned earlier is like every person on his crew is like, it's the last job trope when it comes to like every heist robber movie you've ever seen for 50 years.
Big one.
This is my last big score, and then I'm gonna retire. Him and Val are going to go back, and he was gonna learn to play some alien instrument
flute,
that we don't know,
some horn,
something. So Han shoots first, but we all know, and Han knew from watch. So the whole point of talking about his gunplay is Han knew if he hesitated, Beckett was going to kill him because Beckett was that good with his gun. So him shooting first was actually him just shoot. He had to. So while giving us the fan service,
a little bit of Indiana Jones too, like the swordsman. Like he's not going to let any of this fancy shit go on and just like blow the guy away.
Hopefully, it was just minus like the explosive diarrhea the whole
right, exactly.
Yeah, the whole Indiana Jones cast had for that. The whole reason that scene became what it was because they were all sick as shit. So Kira, of course, leaves on the yacht.
The hover brick.
The hover shoe, whatever it was.
It's like the sewing of them.
She leaves him. He realizes that it's over. He realizes that she has turned on him.
Right.
And him and Chewie. Oh, they give all of the coaxium to. So this is what we were talking about earlier. So this is what you mentioned earlier. They give all the coaxium to Enfys Nest.
Right.
And she gives them one vial, but so he's the good guy.
And Kira does have that great line where she says that to him. You're the good guy.
Like, you don't know this. You don't want to say this, but you're the good guy. He's like, but I'm not, but you are. And so
Actually, you're that jackass that just happens to be lucky all the time and things work out for, right? Like, and
very lucky man.
Yeah, like, and he's just...
Which is, again, kind of, when you don't need the background of the character. Because that's one of the great character arcs of Star Wars, is Han, when he shows up, is kind of a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and if you know in his backstory, well, he's really going to do the right thing because he's really the good guy. Like, you don't know that about it. So when the Millennium Falcon comes back in Star Wars to save Luke, it is a genuinely thrilling moment.
Yeah.
Because, like, you don't know Han's going to do that.
Right.
I understand we all know that now, but this one's showing, well, Han was always the good guy. I'm not necessarily convinced of that.
Right, and I don't. That's why I think this part where he gives them all the coaxium, like, I don't think he would have. I don't think he should have done that. Like, if he's playing, because he wasn't.
Well, like, I wonder if this is one of those things where it's like, you're not supposed to be the good guy, and so here's the grand gesture, like, we're going to show him a good guy, and what if they come out with, like, another movie?
Yeah.
And it's a little more grittier Han, where he's like...
I mean, he does have 10 years to get more Sully to get
where he makes a few of his not so...
But he could have given him the stuff by cutting he could have cut a deal of some sort. It's just,
not just giving it every single ounce.
Yeah, it's awesome that Han's a good guy. You got it. But, like, again, that's the really great arc of that character. Is he's like, you don't know he's going to end up getting the princes and being this great general, like, because he's kind of a shithead.
Right. It almost lessens the original trilogy's plot arc because of what they did here.
Right. He is the guy that will shoot Greedo first.
Right. And without hesitation, we should expect that.
Right.
So yeah, that was what this part kind of irked me a little bit, because yes, but if he had left with what is the equivalent of like $1 billion space dollars, like, he would never have gotten into anything and gotten to his next location. So her giving him that one vial of coaxium where he could get a ship, his whole thing was like, I'm going back to find Lando and I'm going to win this I'm going to beat him at cards. That was his whole game. And so the next scene is him showing up in, like, Jungle Planet with, like, they're playing cards.
Which kind did we not cover? I got Water Planet. We didn't cover Water Planet.
Like, I was waiting for, like, a Brontosaurus burger to, like, come around the corner, And,
I mean, they were literally playing cards in temple ruins. Like, it was like stone with like, and it's cool because they do the same shot from earlier in the movie where, like, you can see, and it's gonna sound weird over like out loud, but you can see Lando through his legs because he walks in. You just see him standing there, and then so they meet, and at this point he still didn't know that Lando had cheated until he saw the card thing when he was when they were greeting each other during this thing, and then he snatches the card from it and then goes and beats him at Savak
and beats him legit.
He took the card.
Oh, that's right.
He
took the card. That's right.
So he cheated him, and then we won the Falcon.
That's right. See, that's another one, because, like, Han says to Lando in Empire, "Hey, I want her fair and square." So I thought what happened was he just took that so Lando couldn't cheat.
Yeah, because then I thought he called him out with it, saying
Han knew he couldn't beat his hand at that point.
Yeah, and he pulled out the ace of
the device,
ace in the hole, and was like, if you had this card, you probably could have won. Like, hey, I just beat you, and I knew you cheated.
You're right.
Like,
he did say that, so maybe it wasn't part of his hand. Maybe it wasn't part of...
I think Han was just letting him know that, like,
if you had this nice green whatever.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because he does make a point.
Like, hey, Dick, I caught you, and I just beat you.
He does make a big point in Empire saying, hey, man, I want her fair and square, he says.
Right. So maybe I read that wrong. I thought it was part of his hand, but good. That makes it even better. That makes the scene even better. So he wins the Falcon. Him and Chewie get on it, and he mentions to Chewie that he heard about a job on Tatooine with a gangster, and we'll see where that goes or whatever. And he even said, like, this one job and we'll be set for whatever.
Right.
Maybe he said that. I don't know if he said it or not, but yeah. And that's when they cut the credits.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't that just like the end game of like every crook?
Oh yeah, the one last job.
Like, it's always, every job is the one last job.
Yeah,
like,
the problem is that 8 people in this movie said it. At least all of Beckett's crew said it. Whether they said it or not here with Jabba, I don't know. But it was a fun watch. It was not a bad movie, and it's getting too much shit. And I think that
it's because their fans are fucking terrible, man.
Well, I mean, I was watching somebody today bitching that he's like rooting for Solo to fail, and he wants Episode 9 to fail. Why? Why
would you want?
You were just and you're following the shithead on Twitter who's telling you how much he loves Star Wars, but he wants Solo to fail, and it's because, and then he wants Episode 9 to fail. Why? And it's all about social justice war. Like I keep seeing SJW thrown around all the time. I don't.
I was thinking Sarah Jessica. I'm like, wait a second, that's not how Jessica.
Who is that?
Yeah.
Like, it's SJP guys. Come on,
But I'm with
right.
you. I don't. You know, we can all like different things. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and comic fans are the same way.
Absolutely.
Every fandom is the same.
That's why the word
way.
fan comes out.
Yeah,
of
but
fanatic.
there's like,
Right.
okay, there's
Right.
like,
It's not a good word.
It's
to
not
be
fan.
honest.
It's derivative from fanatic.
you know, but there are groups that are just like terrible. Like comic groups are terrible. Video game people, for like the most part, are pretty inclusive until you get to the point where it's like, do you play Call of Duty? Yes. Then you're over here in this group. Do you not play Call of Duty? No. Okay, you're over here. Then you argue about some RPG that's very similar, and then over here you argue about Battlefield 4. You know, but metalheads are like the same fucking way too, man. They're like,
Because there's like 18,000 different types of metal, right?
no, well that's just it. There's just metal. Like it's just metal, man. But then some guys like, oh, well you don't like Metallica because they're one of the founding. Not
Right.
me. Fucking hate Metallica. Metallica is one of the goddamn worst bands that ever fucking existed. But you know what? I love Slayer. It doesn't make me any less metal than the other guy. Like, but that's how the Star Wars fans are. Like
Right.
It's
whatever they've made up in their head didn't get regurgitated out on the film,
Right.
and
You can't make everybody happy.
now they're disappointed by it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I had a discussion. At one point, because somebody had tweeted out something. Somebody on the internet was wrong. Had said something about, well, you know, Lucas sold his franchise because the fans just drove him away. But I don't think that's true. I think Red Tails, I believe, is what drove Lucas to sell his company. Because Lucas, as a filmmaker, doesn't give a shit what you think.
Very true.
I always say he's not inclined to be concerned about your emotional well-being. He made, with the prequels, and God bless him, he made the movies he wanted to make.
Yeah.
He wanted to play with that technology. He wrote it. It is as pure filmmaking as you can get. And if you like it, fantastic. He's good. If you hate it, fantastic. He's good.
Right.
You know, he just, you know, it's Star Wars fans who flatter, I think in a weird way, flatter themselves that we drove him away because he's such a shitty filmmaker. And now I want him to come back and rescue Star Wars. But that's not the narrative at all. Lucas made the movies he wanted to make. And it's Red Tails that drove Lucas out of this. That was the one where the studios didn't send people to review or watch, to screen the movie because they weren't comfortable with the black directors and black filmmakers. And I mean, Lucas on this is right. Again, at the wrong time.
Right.
And I think that's the moment that he said, fuck you, and threw up his hands and got out of it altogether.
Yeah.
Star Wars is what drove him.
He's also like, I'm also going to get $1
and I'll get
billion dollars out of this
and
as
And
well.
as we
Like,
said, he got paid $4 billion to shut up and go away.
Right.
But you know, I think Star Wars fandom is the one that drove him off the internet, because I think when he was like saw the fan explosion over Episode 1 and 2, he was like, enough. Life is too short on this. But don't flatter yourselves. You did not drive him away from the Star Wars franchise.
No. If anything, he was jumping in his DuckTales piggy bank, counting all your dollars.
Right.
Right. No, I mean, look at him. He was doing, you know, the stuff like working with Dave Filoni, and I think that actually sort of relit his spark for Star Wars again.
Yeah.
You know, I think he knew what it could be, and I think at that point he just didn't need the albatross anymore either.
So what do you think about the Star Wars projects that are coming up? So we know that this is part 2 of their maybe anthology or type thing. It's Rogue One, it's the solo story, and then number 3 is Boba Fett.
Is that what they've decided?
I believe so. It's already unnamed Boba Fett.
I mean,
movie.
is it Boba Fett or is it Kenobi?
Well, then there's Kenobi too. True, which honestly, so people could hate on the prequels, but they gave us Ewan McGregor when he was young, so we get him when he's old, which is great. Because we're going to have him for
You can have a cool story with Ewan McGregor, like watching out for Luke Skywalker from a distance.
and he doesn't have to and you know he didn't spend his whole time on Tatooine.
Absolutely not.
So there could be all these great adventures off world and all that other stuff.
Although again, he aged really badly over just this, like 10 years between.
Who, Ewan McGregor or
Kenobi? Yeah.
Well, it's like he's like 15 years.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Because
because Luke is supposed to be like Luke is way
20.
too old to be. Yeah, he's like way too old to be starting his training. You know, if they're going to bitch about the 7-year-old or whatever, however old Anakin was when they first came in. I didn't mention it when we got the mall reveal. They played. I lost the name.
Duel of the Fates.
Duel of the Fates, which is honestly one of the greatest things to come out of the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Is that theme. Dun, 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 dun. I just thought that. I remember that back in the day. Like I could play that. I will jam out to that fucking song. Like, I will get rowdy, like it's metal playing for you or something. I don't know. I love that.
Yeah,
song.
and you know, and I'm going to go ahead and say, Boba Fett is not a movie I need. Now, again, I said that on Solo.
I mean, we kind of
Solo's not a movie I need. I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a movie that I was really like, oh, you know what I need? I really need Han Solo's backstory.
They could make those movies really cool if they just kind of take it from the approach of like a day in the life of.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of a
Let's
history of, here's your guy.
Let's explain everything.
Like, no,
about
man,
it.
just give me Boba Fett on a day where he, like, sat down and was fucking drinking a glass of warm milk and was like, all right, I'm done with this shit. I'm tired. And some guy, like, just goes, hey, fuck you. And he's like, you know what? Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. And then he just starts collecting bounties left and right. Like, that's all I want to see.
I'll go out and do this for one last big.
Yeah, right? Like, yeah.
Well, and the biggest complaint about Boba Fett from the original trilogy is that he dies so the worthless death
ever.
And, like, so everything before that has to be really fun because the end was horrible.
Right.
So, and we see his birth in the prequel, so you know how he was jaded as a child. So yes, I don't need to see like.
So you do have that gap.
Don't pick up from him holding his dad's head.
Right.
Like pick up like 10 years later and give me, all of that. Right. That would be cool.
Because you could tell a Boba Fett story. I mean, it would be cool if for the next Han Solo movie, one of the members of the gang that Jabba's with is Boba Fett. Mm-hmm. Like have him in the gang.
Yeah,
and that's because he and Han
before the armor,
right?
That'd be
because
cool.
he and Han clearly know each other or know of each other. So it'd be cool if like they ended up an armorless.
They clearly know each other only because when Chewie yells at him, he goes Boba Fett.
Yeah. Like, so it would an armless Boba Fett. I mean that would be kind of cool.
That would be cool. Or because we know that his dad wore the Mandalorian armor, right. But like him picking up the mantle, who knows? Yeah, it would be cool. So you do have Boba Fett. You do have possibly Ewan McGregor coming back for a Kenobi movie. Whether or not Disney decides to do any more with Solo, I want to see, like, now that it's Han and Chewie and it's the whole Jabba story, I want to see that. I honestly want to see that maybe more than what we got for this movie.
Well, because now in that one you could do new stuff. You don't have to go and start explaining everything.
Yeah, because everything's been explained.
Yeah, that show is
you fucking did it.
That show is gone. Right, yeah.
You explained every goddamn thing.
That shows somebody holding him a black sleeveless vest. You know what I mean?
Right.
We didn't get to see that, I guess, but
that'll be the next one. Don't worry. Yeah. They'll there'll be some story behind the vest.
Yeah, man. For a lot of people that travel in space, where it's fucking cold, like they all dress like it's 85 degrees, like everywhere,
But that cape,
like there's a reason, like astronauts and stuff like that, like are layered, for the most part, unless they're on the space station.
Yeah, the atmospheric controls in the ships must be really good.
Yeah,
right? Right. No humidity.
Or when you land in a space.
Yeah, like where's like the defogger button, like as you're leaving through the atmosphere.
Hold on, we can't make the jump to light speed yet. I can't see it. We have to fog yet. The fog in a windshield ain't like Dustin Crops, boy.
All right, so tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on my website at brianjjones.com or on Twitter, also at Brian J. Jones.
Perfect.
Or even on Facebook I think I'm real Brian J. Jones on there. I'm never sure, but I'm on Twitter more than
So
Facebook.
Some other asshole got regular Brian J. Jones?
No, I think I actually have it as my private Facebook account.
Oh, there you go.
That's my outward facing one is something else. But I'm on Twitter more than Facebook.
Very much so.
And running my mouth.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for being on the show again. We really appreciate you coming back. We'll have you for any movie or anything you want to talk about. We know you're busy writing, so.
That is my biggest problem right now, and I can't catch up on TV. My wife and I are only just now catching up on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That's how far behind we are.
Well, it didn't get canceled. It got saved.
It didn't. I'm thrilled.
You thought you saw it end. You're like, yes, nope, I don't have it.
Yeah, that was one of those shows I got in like 4 seasons late, but then I like found it and I chain watched it, and then I got all into it, and then like, hey, it's getting the axe, and I was like, this is why I don't fucking watch TV.
Yeah, no, it's great. So, but we're so like I don't start anything new right now because I don't have the time for it. So.
No, you do not. Well, thank you, and we always ping you for any Star Wars movie that comes out. So we'll always pencil you in for that, and we love when you come over. It's been great, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for letting me sit here and jeopardize your time.
Absolutely. Everybody who hung on this long, thank you so much, and we'll catch you next week. We're hitting episodes 7 and 8 of Westworld. Episode 7, Corey, have you watched it yet?
Nope.
probably the best episode of the season, if not the series. It's everything you want and nothing that you didn't want in it.
I heard it really confused people. I don't watch it, but I was following, and I was hearing people were very confused by the end of it.
There's just so much action. People are just like, I don't know what happened. Because usually it's a lot of talking. It's a whole lot of talking. It makes my storytelling really lame. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next week.